At dawn, when the dimness of the night settled, the tingling winter air pricked my lungs. A mountain trail devoid of people at 4 a.m. Climbing the mountain at such an early hour and taking deep breaths brought about refreshing feelings. I wanted to do this, but do I really have to? Thinking about what I was about to do, guilt flooded from the depths of my heart. It was beyond imagination, since it was with hot tofu. Just recalling that picture I saw on the internet made me burst into laughter. At the age of 27, to be doing something like this. I slowly caressed the hollow of the tree I had been researching for a long time. Proper height, depth, length, and appearance. Undoubtedly, this tree is the most lascivious. Upon closer inspection, its shape even resembled female. Am I really doing it here? Initially, I had no such thoughts, but since childhood, I had been a boy with an unusually intense curiosity. Finding out in kindergarten that girls didn't have a penis shocked me. The act I was about to commit was also a part of satisfying that curiosity. Not lust but curiosity. After sighing, I pushed the tofu into the hollow. The hot liquid from the freshly made tofu flowed down the edge of the hole. It was so cold outside that steam began rising. I turned on an adult video on my cell phone to arouse my yet-to-be erect thing. When blood rushed to my lower body, I inserted it without hesitation. Liquid smeared over my lower body. It was somewhat unpleasant. Isn't this mediocre? Even if I increased the speed, there was no excitement. My interest cooled off sharply. Enough. The reason I came here was simply out of curiosity, not to satisfy my lust. Knowing the feeling was not good, I decided to stop immediately. After scooping out the tofu and stepping back, the sense of strangeness crept in again. Why is the tree this red? I had doubts, but I thought it might be the rising sun making me see the original color of the tree incorrectly. What would I gain from suspecting a tree? Let's go back. I started hurrying down the mountain. From now on, the sweet first day of the end of the semester, my head was filled with thoughts of enjoying the extraordinary campus life of an outsider. The next morning, I blankly stared down at the door of my one-room apartment. Take responsibility. There, a girl with unusually bright lime-colored hair was scolding me. Take responsibility for our mom. I had a gut feeling that I was screwed. Take responsibility. It wasn't because of the child in front of me, who was squawking and making a fuss. I can't speak. From the moment I opened the door, a strange sensation overwhelmed my entire body. Even when I tried to force myself to swallow, my throat was stiff, refusing to move. A sensation of a giant abyss gazing at me. Why did you have to mess with our mom, of all people? The child, scoffing disdainfully, no longer had the innocent appearance from before on her cold face. I was not the one who messed with the child's mother. From the beginning, a shut-in like me, who could I have messed with? Just an ordinary college student, that was me. The only thing I messed with. Whether she read my thoughts or not, the child smiled. Understanding the situation, a deep remorse overwhelmed me. When I came to, the world had changed. To be more precise, I was dragged into another world. Was this what they called fate? Ridiculous. I killed time, lying blankly on the mattress, and finally looked at the hologram window that I had been desperately ignoring. A sigh flowed out of me. Damn it. I covered my face with both hands and swept them down my face. One sentence was enough to explain my newly realized predicament. I f***ed the world tree and came to another world. This world was composed of several world trees. The world trees, which stretched out into the empty world, cradled the children born from their roots and watched over creatures with a maternal gaze to ensure the children grew well. The world I belonged to was a place without world trees, a progressive world that had undergone unique development. The important thing was that a young world tree took an interest in my world and rooted itself on Earth. And I f***ed her. As a result of the daughter of that world tree holding me responsible, I was dragged into an unheard of and unseen otherworld. I sat on the bed and sighed heavily. After studying hard and becoming the top student, I've ended up married to a tree. Can you shut up? You're too sensitive. The semi-transparent hologram appearing before my eyes was updating every moment, like the chat in an online game. Of course, all that appeared in that window were the unnecessary sweet talk and emotions of the world tree, which I wasn't interested in. This world tree of purity kept talking to me from the day I arrived in this other world. It seemed like it would be my wife, but I didn't like it. Can't I go back to the earth I used to live on? I mumbled, hoping for a response, but the expected reaction from the world tree did not come. It was probably impossible. Every part of my body detested the world tree. Damn thing. I checked the hologram window at the pleasant notification sound in my ear. I refuse. In short, they were threatening me with a huge threat, saying if I didn't become the best husband, I would die. I couldn't help but laugh due to the absurdity. Have I ever felt such helplessness in my life? Din, you are a foreigner who drifted into this world. A spouse for the world tree. You may qualify, but you are still worthless. Prove your worth. The number of tasks assigned to you is: pass the UL Academy. Remaining deadline: 120 days, 24 hours, 59 minutes, 54 seconds. My previously happy life was now over. I had to forcibly adapt to this world if I didn't want to die. I researched this world with the computer provided in the room. Hunters and heroes, dungeons and villains. From what I found, this world was similar to the modern fantasy I knew. Apart from the fact that tree people, wooden beings in human form, lived here, it wasn't much different from where I originally lived. I roughly understood it. It was a familiar setting, a world I never thought actually existed. A fantasy where magic and swords coexisted. But no excitement filled me. Before long, I stared at the popped-up hologram window and exhaled a resigned sigh. What's the use of denying it? I've already fallen into this world. Who knows, if I behave, they might send me back to the original world. Thanks to the gaming experience I had accumulated over the years, I was adept at such systems. I moved my fingers and adjusted the stat I should prioritize. I was planning to allocate all the points to growth potential. It was a no-loss deal, and I had to be wise to live in this world where the world tree was watching me. I saw a plus and a minus on either side of the numbers in the stats I had just viewed. Reducing strength increased the available points, as expected. So, there was only one thing for me to do. While acquired stats could be increased with effort, most unique traits could not be obtained no matter how hard one tried. Since I couldn't have everything, I had to focus on potential. I reached for the charisma stat. What was important was ability, not appearance. It could release me from being a husband candidate if it didn't like it. Especially giving up on innate points like appearance had high value. I poured my points into luck. Luck is essential. I would like to greatly reduce intelligence, too, but fearing becoming an idiot, I decided to stop. To earn points, I added various debuffs that acted as talents. Talent, ugly appearance plus 100p. Talent, lustful demon plus 50p. Talent, quarrel starter plus 50p. Talent, severe obesity plus 100p. I had to endure these penalties to use the talents I had reserved. Talent, late bloomer. Potential significantly increases. You stand out in various fields proportional to your potential. Mental strength significantly increases. This ability is not visible to others. A highly precious ability created by spending all collected points. The moment I pressed Y, my whole body felt heavy. When I looked down, my belly was covered in lavish flesh. It seemed like a difficult journey awaited me. But talents could be removed depending on personal effort. If I lost weight, I could quickly shake off severe obesity. Compared to the worst traits, bad talents are relatively easier to overcome. Not high risk, high return, but high risk, hyper return. It was absolutely not a losing deal. 100 days left until the academy admission application. I had to raise my stats as much as possible by then. Click. I turned off the alarm on my smartphone and groggily got out of bed. I ripped open an energy bar on my desk, popped it in my mouth, and changed into suitable workout clothes after rummaging through my closet. 13th day in another world. Today was the start of my daily workout. I ran at full speed from my lodging to Seoul Grand Park. Normally, I wouldn't have done this, but thinking I would fall behind even a step moved my body involuntarily. There were times I wanted to give up, but the enhanced mental strength from my ability forcibly moved my body, grabbing my ankles when it came time for it. I walked when tired and ran when I recovered. As time passed, more people started to appear in the park. From now on, it was a battle with myself. OSH, totally disgusting. How can someone look like that? The harsh words people spat out when they saw me. Even with earphones on, I could hear their words leaking out. Hey, even goblins aren't that ugly, right? It's fascinating. Being insulted for my appearance has become a part of my daily life now. It would be fortunate if it was just insults, but there were also people who left the park, frowning, just because they shared the air with me. The negative talents I had chosen to earn points were the root cause. The synergy they created was unexpected. The talents eventually made me uglier than a goblin. Why the hell do those bastards have to say out loud that I'm ugly? You cannot control your anger. You occasionally get angry without reason. Anger management disorder. I could understand, but it was not forgivable. I naturally picked up a pebble on the ground and charged at the couple who insulted me. You bastards. Just at that moment, when I was about to charge at the woman like a ghost, someone forcefully grabbed my shoulder, restraining me. Causing a commotion in the park is prohibited. Unable to resist the grip on my shoulder, I inevitably dropped the pebble. Turning my head, I saw a familiar woman, smartly dressed in a suit, giving me a slight smile. Follow me. Yes, I obediently followed the security guard. Excuse me. Yes, you know how many times this has been, right? It's the 7th time. If you continue, you'll be banned from entering. Today you crossed the line. Why did you pick up the pebble from the ground? Think from my perspective. Every time there's an incident, you're always involved. I'm sorry. I kept my mouth shut and bowed my head repeatedly. I sincerely felt sorry for the security guard who has been dealing with me since I arrived in this world. I'm sorry. I really won't come again. It's good if that's true. But if you want to work out, wouldn't it be better to go to the gym? They told me not to come. Looking at me, pity filled the security guard's eyes. A month after starting the exercise, my efforts bore fruit. I was so happy that I stretched both hands to the ceiling and shouted. Thanks to the sweet help of the lovely security guard and exercising without worries, my weight, which was 120 on the first day, had finally reached 2 digits. If I continued to exercise at this rate, I would definitely return to the normal track. Then, I could escape from this annoying obesity and this damn negative charm. Let's keep going like this. I smiled and turned off the info window. A new icon appeared in the right corner of my view. World Tree Auction. A pink and cute icon. Soon, a description popped up. You could convert the affection of the world tree into points and use them like money. Seeing that sentence, I couldn't help but sigh. There was nothing to look forward to. Strictly speaking, I assaulted the world tree. How high could the affection be? It seemed like it liked me from the chats, but I don't know if that's real affection. Affection 100. I wasn't sure if it was the limit, but it certainly wasn't a small number. I carefully perused the world tree auction. What I needed now were traits and abilities that could get me into the L Academy under the purview of the World Tree of Justice. Unique traits, characteristics, and skills were mostly only obtainable through a gacha system. 100 times. The number of times I could draw with the points I had. There were only a few items I immediately needed among the items I could buy. I know very well that gambling is a shortcut to ruining one's life. But wasn't this when my saved-up luck was supposed to come in handy? Boldly, I pressed the button, and a pet bottle appeared with a pop. Mineral water. Young saplings might like this. Damn. After emptying half the bottle, I threw it into the corner of the room. My hidden competitive spirit flared up. I, Li Shihin, could not stand losing. I mindlessly hit the button 5 times in rapid succession. Sapling fertilizer. You can monopolize the love of young saplings with this alone. Mask of patience. It radiates a lustful aura. The mask may be ugly, but you can become cool if you accept its aura over time. Effect 1. Charisma is fixed at 2 while wearing the mask. Effect 2. Charisma increases by a maximum of 1 when worn for 5 days. One-time use. This item cannot be used multiple times. Looking at the gacha results, I was certain. This tasteless water is a bust. 4 out of 6 were equivalent to consolation tissue prizes. Sapling fertilizer was a step above the water. Charisma is fixed at 2, and wearing it for 5 days increases charisma by 1. It was an artifact that immediately attracted my interest. My current charisma was in the negatives, so just by wearing the mask, I would essentially get a +4 adjustment. Combat type body. Effect 1. Receive considerable adjustment in all combat activities. Exactly at the 67th time. The ability I was waiting for appeared with a loud celebratory sound. Looking at the pile of items stacked behind me made me sigh at the thought of organizing them. What should I do with these now? Clean mineral water, 30 bottles. I could drink them while exercising. Fertilizer. It could be used at a nearby farm. The problem was that there were also a lot of miscellaneous items like tissues, which were burdensome. The highest rank among them is this, a mysterious pill that radiated a bright red aura. If it was a pill that replenished internal energy or magic, I would have put it in my mouth in a heartbeat. But the problem was that it wasn't for humans. From its appearance rate, it seems to be 1 level above the sapling fertilizer. If I had to compare, maybe like a 500,001 department store gift voucher. Even then, it was still garbage that I couldn't consume. It was too precious to give to others, and it didn't seem immediately usable. It had been 2 months since I was unwillingly sent into this world. First-time experiences in foreign lands could be adapted to within a week, but I had spent over 60 days here, so it was natural to get accustomed. Now, I didn't feel anything when people talked about the world tree on home shopping or the internet. Living here started to feel like everyday life. Except for the lack of my mother back home and online games, nothing was different than usual. As part of my daily routine, I went to the department store to buy clothes that fit. Due to regular exercise, I could now buy clothes without going to a plus-size store. I declined the employee following me and started choosing clothes. A few black tracksuits that wouldn't go out of style, and some sleeveless shirts and underwear for home wear. The bank account I had when I came to this world, which contained 1,000,001, was slowly running out. But it was fine. If I got admitted to the academy, the government would provide substantial support until graduation. While I was choosing clothes for a while, I heard the employees gathered around the counter chatting. Hey, a sacred tree person has come outside. Oh my, really? Who is it? Which family? The Oak family, Lee Seong. Oh my, this is crazy. Let's go see. A sacred tree person. My interest was piqued when I overheard an unfamiliar term. I put down the clothes for a moment and headed outside, where a massive crowd had gathered. Camera shutters were repeatedly heard around me. Far down the sidewalk, bodyguards in black suits were surrounding and protecting a woman. A woman around 170 centimeters tall, gently smiling at the surrounding fans. Her mature charm showed through her mid-20s face. Is that a sacred tree person? Shoulder-length green hair and a red dress that barely covered her chest. Was I staring too blatantly? The sacred tree person became conscious of my gaze. A woman with her eyes wide as if she found something fascinating. I inadvertently murmured, "Sweet oak tree." Perhaps, maybe, that was the name of the tree. The sacred tree person who was looking at me showed a foxy, mischievous smile and deliberately licked her upper lip. And very slowly, she stepped towards me. The distance narrowed. Having brushed aside the bodyguard in a suit, she scanned the mask I was wearing and chuckled softly. You have something good, don't you? Inside an office, enveloped in silence. Her captivating, dark green eyes scanned my mask before heading toward the lower half of my tracksuit. They were filled with anticipation. So, what is this about? Somehow, I had caught the eye of the sacred tree person and was brought to the main house of the Oak family. I didn't think this series of events was just her whim. Did she want something? Holding the title of a candidate for the husband of the world tree, I had to be cautious in my actions. Hey. Her voice, though cold, carried an alluring undertone. Why do you think you were brought here? Indeed. Aren't you curious, being summoned all of a sudden upon our first meeting? Want me to tell you? Seong, who suddenly stood up, closed the distance between us. Her eyes came closer slowly. My gaze naturally fell on the collarbone revealed by her bent upper body. What are you looking at? I apologize. Why are you so shy? What an apology. Seong, covering her chest with her hand, snickered as if amused. What's your name? It's Lee Shihyun. My throat was burning, so I kept drinking cold water. How did it come to this? The loser spirit engraved all over my body was struggling, wanting to flee quickly. Eventually, she spoke. You have it, don't you? The tree circle pill. The words sprouting from her cherry-like lips were laden with greed. The tree circle pill. I had it. It always occupied a place in my wallet or pocket. I had been keeping it carefully, thinking it might be useful someday. But did its time finally come? Hand it over. My hopes were shattered by the words that followed. Hand it over. Damn this. I could feel my face hardening. Is it that important? Did you even have it without knowing its importance? Totally crazy. Surprise flashed in Seong's eyes. It's a medicine that aids the growth of us tree people. It's irreplaceable. With it, our children can become sacred tree persons in no time. So, you need it. I do need it. It's rare. Our children are waiting. Hand it over and leave. So, just like this, they would try to take whatever they wanted outright. Her raised eyes conveyed the resolve to not pay me a penny. My face kept hardening, and strength poured into my fists. It was surprising that my anger disorder had not been activated yet. To be honest, I was infuriated. There was a limit to being shameless. Still, I should hold it in. First, let's verify if this is what you are looking for. The bead I placed on the desk resonated with a red hue as it sensed a sacred tree person. Gulp. Seong's throat moved. Just by that, I could roughly gauge the value of this item. Now, leave. Just a moment. I casually blocked the hand she suddenly extended. This isn't all there is. I have 2 more at home, and more will be accumulated. Isn't trading better than seizing? I sweated but made my proposal firmly. Seong stared into my eyes for a while. She brought her hand to her mouth and snickered. Then, like having seen a comedy, she laughed, hitting the desk. You have more. The tree circle pill. How will you prove it? I have them at home. Do I need to prove it? Seong's laughing face suddenly froze, cold as winter frost. Fool, had you quietly let me take one, I would have left the other 2. Her cold, set voice echoed around the room. A menacing aura was felt for a moment. Her radiating glare pressed my entire body. Sweat trickled down my back. Damn, did I make a mistake? Then, suddenly, I realized the anger I had been suppressing was shooting through my head. My trembling eyes moved somewhere. In my sight was a woman's ripe chest. My forehead throbbed. A strange sensation I had never experienced before climbed up my spine. Seong's confident and mocking smile was nauseating. Realizing she didn't even consider me a human, her eyes seemed even more irritating. I wanted to desecrate, to trample her. Have I ever had such passionate thoughts before? Maybe it was because of the traits. Snap. I felt like a thin thread was cut. Satisfy the tree person in front of you in 30 minutes. Quest reward, tree circle pill X1. If quest fails, death. I lifted my lowered face again. Perhaps my face was full of lust. Even with a mask, vile desires were bound to show. Fine, I shall do as I was told. Don't move. You, right now. I locked the office door. She, visibly startled, began to mutter urgently. Wind cutter. A brief blue rift wavered in her hand, but no magic manifested. I aggressively grabbed Seong's shoulder as I threw off the mask. Oh, don't. You don't even know your place. Why are you doing this all of a sudden? You think you can do something to our family. I hate your voice. I shut her mouth with a kiss. Oak tree, other names, Korean oak, etc. Planty woodian, Quercus dentata oak tree, one of the commonly used landscaping trees. It blooms green flowers in May and grows well in well-drained locations. Frequent water consumption and periodic draining are recommended if fast growth is desired. Flower language, independence, courage. After the salacious encounter, leaving the unconscious girl behind, I became obsessed with exercise and bodybuilding for a while. At one point, I thought Seong, who likely bore a grudge, might report me, but ultimately, I was not reported. Whether it was shameful to be robbed by a human or whether she was satisfied, I did not know. Anyway, it was a tough matter for anyone to argue who was the wrong one at that time. Time passed, and the entrance exam came. During that time, I devoted most of my given time to training. Thanks to the exercise, the fats attached to my body also fell off a lot. Trait, obesity. He is on the chubby side. With successful dieting, it can be upgraded to a normal body. From severe obesity to obesity, I had made significant progress. I studied from time to time and easily passed the written exam. The problem was a lack of practical experience. I didn't know how far my inherent abilities could assist me. The waiting room for the candidates was enveloped in silence. Group E, come in. A man sitting next to me jumped up at the soft voice of one of the supervisors. Thinking I was next, my heart thumped. Who was my opponent? I turned my head slightly and saw a woman with a cold, subdued atmosphere. Soft pink short hair and a brooch with jewels. Her small face was quite beautiful. Feeling my gaze, she turned her head towards me. A pin with a flower, the same color as her hair, was attached to her left hair. Do you have something to say to me? No, I was just surprised to see someone I'd read about in the newspapers. Famous people did find it annoying to hear people talking about them. Oh, is that so? Jin Dali turned her head again. Her gaze was fixed on a petite man sitting opposite her. Young Siwoo. He was tall and impressive. Group F, come in. I jumped up as my turn finally came. 6 of us, starting with me, entered the practical test field. A simple natural grass training field. There were a few chairs in the center. Group F, has everyone arrived? I am Man Sejeok, the examiner who will judge this practical combat test. Your practical exam is a one-on-one battle. We will observe the duels between the candidates and judge based on the opinions of the examiners. Soon after Group E's exam is over, you can enter when I call you. Waiting for my turn with my sword drawn, I heard voices around me. Don't cry even if you meet me. You're funny. You better be careful. Jin Dali and Young Siwoo were quibbling. I guess they knew each other from before. Probably classmates from private school. By the way, Dali, how did you do on the last written exam? Just so. The conversation that started between the two gradually spread to the surrounding people. In the middle of all this, my name popped up. How did you find it, Shihyun? Me? I thought it was just normal. Oh, you can drop the formalities. Oh, right, Shihyun is a human like me, isn't he? I knew it at a glance. Let's do well as fellow humans. Siwoo offered his hand, and I gave it a decent shake. It seemed quite pleasant to meet a human in an exam filled with 3 people. The 2 people I mentioned earlier to the exam field, Lee Shihyun and Young Siwoo, prepare for the next match. Siwoo, fight hard. Jin Dali lightly waved her hand to Siwoo, whom she already knew. The next 2, come in. We exchanged a word as we went in. No hard feelings, right? We stood in the match field. Young Siwoo was holding a wooden sword in one hand, just like me. Are you ready? Yes, begin. At that moment, a sinister feeling enveloped my neck. Surprised, I instinctively lifted my sword to the side of my neck. Crack! A sound that should not have come from a wooden sword was heard. Splinters from the broken wooden sword scattered in the air. Young Siwoo, stop. As soon as the instructor's words came out, Siwoo's movement stopped as if time had frozen. At that moment, the wooden sword in his hand was precisely at my neck. The use of magic is prohibited. Lee Shihyun, pick up a new weapon. What was this? My current stats, excluding magic, were around 3 to 4. Not a bad ability score for an incoming academy student. But what about just now? It wasn't merely challenging to follow. I couldn't see the movements at all. I caught my breath and drew a new wooden sword. My heart was pounding. Honestly, it seems like I couldn't win. This wasn't a prediction, it was a certainty. Start. At the examiner's word, I tensed every nerve in my body immediately. The figure of Siwoo that had been in front of my eyes disappeared. I quickly tilted my head in desperation. Bang! The sound of air exploding right next to my ear reached me. The winner, young Siwoo. The passing notification will be posted on the website tomorrow. You may leave. Shihin, about the exam result. You did well. Yes, so did you. I responded casually to the farewells of Siwoo and Jin Dali, and left the examination room. Distraught and empty, I wandered the surrounding corridors. I mumbled the words while standing alone under the light. Not see you later, but well done. It seems like a phrase used with the consideration that we might never meet again. Well, it was true that young Siwoo was that strong. With a bitter taste in my mouth, I put back on the mask I had temporarily removed for identity verification. Then, a voice came from behind me. Ik, a familiar shriek. When I reflexively turned my head, a woman with a large chest was looking at me with wide eyes. I was surprised to see her face and even more surprised to read the nameplate on her large chest. Lee Se-young-won. Even after a second look, there was no change. Even if the sky fell, there was a hole to rise through. A smile naturally came to my face. Hey, haven't I seen you somewhere before? You shamelessly. What the hell are you talking about? Isn't it insane for someone who has abducted an innocent person and stolen the heirloom left by my grandfather to speak? I shrugged off Se-young's remarks. The mention of the grandfather was a lie to gain the upper hand in the conversation. However, she raised her voice as if it was not even worth considering. You made a mistake. If I just say the word, killing someone like you is. I think I know what you want. It's not gonna happen.
A few inches later.
How did you get my phone number? A call suddenly came from an unknown number, and it was a coercive call from Lee Se-young. You're so impatient, teacher. Anyway, I can give you the tree circle pill, but please do me a favor. You know my address, right? Oh, and bring pizza on your way. Sweet potato shrimp pizza. Surprisingly, Se-young obediently responded and hung up. What's with her? The last time we met, she was so eager to eat me alive. For a while, I planned to focus on gathering information and improving my skills. I lacked too much information at the moment. I needed someone who could provide me with more specialized information, as research on the internet had its limits. World Tree, can you tell me about this world? Incompetent thing. My relationship with the World Tree had always been such that it hurriedly responded when called but never actually helped me. So when exactly is the love of the World Tree coming? The love of the World Tree, which was the reward for this admission quest. Just then, the bell rang. I opened the door, thinking Se-young had already arrived, but a man holding a parcel was there. Is this Mr. Lee Shihan's place? Yes, this is an item left under your name at Tree Corporation. Please accept it. The man, with a cap pressed down, emotionlessly handed me the box and left. I entered the room and opened the box to find a light green seed. When I held up the seed, a holographic window appeared first. Love of the World Tree. A seed impregnated by the World Tree of Purity. What? I calmed down and read the message again. A seed impregnated by the World Tree. What does impregnated mean? No, I'm not asking for the meaning of that word right now. So, to explain the situation I was in right now, it was like this. She has passed her child on to me. The seed. It had sprouted. In short, Shiba. From today, its name is Shiba Saki. Shiba, you must not grow up like mom. You don't need to listen to a parent who abandons her child. Slurp, slurp. Whether the seedling heard my words or not, its two leaves swayed side to side. Was this prenatal education? The academy, boasting the slogan "The City of Education where the talents of the future reside," was located on an island near the Pacific. My first impression of the academy's island was that it was like a mix between a high school and a university. The difference was that the dormitories were co-ed, and the rooms were quite spacious. I unpacked my bags and casually placed the potted plant next to the bed on the table. There was a kitchen for midnight snacks, and the first floor had a salad bar for breakfast and dinner at all times. After slipping into some indoor slippers and donning a mask, I headed to the first floor. Once in the corridor, I became the center of attention for the other students. Who is he? No idea. Their eyes scrutinized me as if observing a spectacle. However, wearing this mask, I received better treatment and reaction compared to not wearing one. Having finished eating alone, I had nothing else to do. I removed the card I had inserted at the entrance and trudged back to my room, where I noticed a figure in front of my door. Is he not in? A petite woman clutching something was peeking inside. Even from afar, her red overalls and tight shorts were recognizable. Can I help you? This is my room. Oh, approaching her, she greeted me with a radiant smile and a bow. Hi, I'm your neighbor. I brought some flower tea as a welcome to the dorm. Thank you. I wish I had something to give in return. I don't have anything. It's okay. I wanted to give it to you. Just be friends with me. What's your name? I'm Lee Si-hyun. What a pretty name. And Gyusul. Gyusul. It's quite a unique name. At that moment, something appeared behind her, a form of a long tree reminiscent of when I first met Seyoung. My mind automatically identified the tree. Was there really such a tree? Gyusul seemed curious about my silence. I'm sorry, I was just thinking. What's your surname? I don't have one. Just Gyusul. We're friends now, so we can speak informally, right? Her cheerful face made me accept her odd name. Her face was innocent, resembling a puppy's. I was happily observing her face when she asked me, "Why do you always wear a mask?" "I want to see your face." "Show me." I gently grabbed her approaching hand and put it down. Gyusul instantly looked disappointed and pouted. "I have my reasons." "That's too bad." "Oh, I have to feed Jae-jong. He's my plant companion. See you later." The conversation naturally concluded. I awkwardly waved back at Gyusul, who waved at me before entering her room. Entrance ceremony, a convenient event designed for students to face their competitors and stir up ambition for academic achievement. On the podium stood a principal with bright yellow hair, talking earnestly about something. I stifled a yawn as the monotonous translation echoed. "It's time to water Sheba." Another yawn at this needless thought. After the entrance ceremony, I headed to my assigned class first. I chose a seat by the window in the far left corner and waited. Soon, the students of Korea Class 1 began to enter one by one. Among them, many were familiar faces: Young Siwoo, Sensuyu, Jin Dali, etc. Yoongjin class has special classes starting in the evening, so we had to attend the regular and morning classes together here. Initially, there was a plan to make a separate class only for the elites, but it seems it was changed due to language barriers or something similar. As I was lost in thought, I suddenly sensed someone behind me. Someone tapped my shoulder. I turned sharply, and a long finger poked my cheek. Heta. Her eyes, brimming with mischief, large black eyes stared at me. "You are in class 1 too. Gyusul." She pulled a chair next to me and stretched out. "It's a relief you are here. I was wondering what to do if I didn't know anyone in the class." Gyusul giggled. "Hey, want some confectionery? I brought it from home." The sweet red bean flavor wrapped around my tongue. While savoring the subtle sweetness left on my tongue, Gyusul watched me and urged for my opinion. "Our house's confectionery is delicious, right?" Say it's delicious quickly. It's not good. Heck, I will never give you any again." As we joked around, a teacher entered with the sound of the door opening at the front of the classroom. "Attention!" A clear and reliable female voice filled the classroom. The noisy class became quiet in an instant. "I am Lee Se-young, in charge of Korea Class 1. Originally, teacher Jin Seung-hoon would have been in charge, but due to certain circumstances, I will be with you for this year." She conveyed her intentions precisely with a captivating voice and surveyed the surroundings from the front of the teacher's desk. "Sit, let's talk. There's a lot to say. I benefited a lot thanks to the tree circle pill you gave me last time. Was the tree circle pill such a valuable item? So, why did you call me this time? Did you want to play another round? Are you out of your mind? Was it my imagination that a glint of anticipation shone in Se-young's glaring eyes? Just take it as advice. Don't approach the tree people carelessly." "Excuse me, tree people are deeply educated with the ideology of superior citizens. You have nothing to gain from them." Since Se-young lives in this world, her words must be correct. Then, what about Gyusul? Although she was a tree person, her lineage did not seem prestigious. Should I keep my distance? I was not sure. "Hey, rapist." Se-young, looking at my contemplating face, spoke as if to console me. "Why are you so lost in thought?" Se-young, coming a little closer, popped my forehead lightly with her finger. I could only stare at her smiling face, dumbfounded. Then, I suddenly came to my senses and protested. "But you keep framing me as a rapist. Technically, if we strictly talk about it, it's mutual fault, you know." "Enough. You are a rapist." Se-young slightly bent her upper body forward and poked my chest as if branding me. Her smiling eyes and lifted lips looked very mischievous. Suddenly, the vibration alarm of the smartphone in my pocket rang. Se-young's eyebrows slightly raised, and she gave me a strange look. To me, her gaze seemed to be asking if it was okay not to pick up the call. I decided to wrap it up and stand up from my seat. Ding. This sound effect was mostly the alarm for the World Tree System. What was it this time? Favorability menu. When I went in to check, where once only the World Tree of Purity was written, there was a name I could not have imagined. Registration of favorability is possible from 50. Name, gender, Lee Seong. Age, height, 26 years, 170 centimeters. Sexual fantasy, assault. Romance fantasy, holding hands while watching a movie. Natural physical contact, kiss. The front corner seat of the classroom. Jin Dali seemed to be deep in thought, chin in hand, and eventually let out a sigh as if the ground should cave in under her. She had always been full of worries, but today they seemed deeper than ever. She mulled over the message she received last night. It's urgent, Dali. Lee Shihyun. Bring anyone with that name who is trying to enroll in the academy. He will be of great help to us. A sudden notification from her stepfather. That kid is truly outrageous. Dali didn't like the stepfather she met after her father's death. To say she didn't like him was an understatement. Jin Dali sighed. Lee Shihyun. Her first impression of him wasn't good. An extremely ugly guy who leered at her in the practical exam waiting room. That was it. She didn't even have much conversation with him. How could she know anything about him? And, what, he will be of help to us. What a joke. At that moment, the door opened, and that guy came in. The surrounding students who reacted to the door glanced at the masked man once, then started chatting among themselves as if uninterested. Jin Dali, watching this scene, focused her gaze again on Masked Man, no, on Lee Shihyun. How on earth did he pass? Unlike the other students, he had no magical power, and his body was frail. At first glance, he was so weak so she assumed he would inevitably fall against Young Siwoo and fail. But he passed, against all odds. Did that clumsy man have some special ability? There must be something. Did she really need to approach that guy? She softly bit her thumbnail as someone tapped her shoulder. Dali, what? Caught you. Heta. Go away. Gyusul, her friend from the private tree-person school she attended. You were staring at Shihyun since a while ago. A twitch passed over Jin Dali's lips. Do you like Shihyun by any chance? Are you insane? Facing Gyusul's teasing joke with a laugh, Dali responded with a surprisingly icy voice. It was the most ridiculous thing she had ever heard in her life. Shihyun is a bit strange, right? Always wearing a mask. Have you seen his face under the mask? You were in the same group during the exam, right? I saw it. Ugly as a stepped-on persimmon. Gyusul burst into laughter again at the harsh evaluation and went back to her seat, giggling. Gyusul always seemed cheerful, unlike Dali. Of course, it seemed that way because she hid her true feelings behind her lively demeanor. Starting the training. Please choose the difficulty level. I drew one of the wooden swords hung on the wall and selected the beginner level. The wooden dummy moved. After bending its body a few times, it ran towards me with its sword clutched in both hands. My heart raced and my body heated up. I could clearly see the movements of the attacking combat dummy. Crash. The wooden dummy fell clumsily. The light on the ceiling blinked once. It's too easy. What kind of stat did Young Siwoo, whom I already fought against, have? I should adjust the stat to 4. The wooden dummy quickly got up again and charged at me. The movements, unlike a human's, appeared devoid of a speck of fear or hesitation, and I could clearly see the trajectory of its sword. But there were still things to learn there. The sound of clashing resonated in the training ground where I was alone. I was swinging my sword unknowingly until nightfall in a place I entered with a simple mindset to train. Adjusting stat to 5. I learned how to overpower a weaker opponent. Adjusting stat by 1. Adjusting difficulty to intermediate. Congratulations on enrolling in L Academy. The path to becoming a husband of the world tree is treacherous. Skill, connections, honor, and money. The theme to evaluate you this time is connections. Make 3 friends among the students of the academy. Time remaining, 6 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes. Make 3 friends. This was indeed a ridiculous command. The progress was written in the translucent window that popped up at the bottom right of my field of vision. Friendship is recognized when the goodwill is over 40, and when the other person recognizes you as a friend. The closest people to being friends are 2, Young Siwoo Jin Dali. Really now, this was frustrating. Excluding Young Siwoo, the person closest to me was Jin Dali. Why does she despise me? Did I really look that bad? Although, I did stare at her quite intensely back then. If a fat and ugly girl who was lost in thought stared at me for more than 20 seconds, I admit it would be distasteful. So, how should I make friends? Welcome to the hologram practical combat class. The instructor nodded at the students sitting around the large training room. As written in the class description, this class is a practical training to enhance combat abilities using holograms. To give you an analogy, you've all used the training room where your wooden dummies appear, right? It's the same, but think of the dummies as monsters. After finishing his explanation, the instructor clapped once and spoke the final word. Then, form teams with whoever you want. Groups of 3. Now was the time. I reflexively stood up. Siwoo, let's be together. Dali, who was clinging to Siwoo's arm, tensed her face upon seeing my mask. I spoke in a carefully sweetened voice. Young Siwoo, is there a spot left in the team? Come in. Is it the first time since the entrance exam? It's Shihyun, right? Yes, nice to meet you. Jin Dali, we met once before, right? Upon my words, Dali quickly recovered her expression and waved with a forced smile. Yes, nice to meet you. Seeing her clearly draw the line, I could see the tough road ahead. However, there were no signs of her opposing teaming with me, so it was decided to always have this team for this class. 2 swordsmen and 1 wizard, Jin Dali being the wizard, the balance wasn't bad. Alright, let's start with the first team formed. The swords and staves provided are mass-produced, but they are real, so be careful. Drawing the sword from its sheath, the sharp blade revealed itself. It was my first time holding a real sword, but rather than worry, excitement sparked within me. As our turn began, we entered the dome. Inside, an artificial dungeon based on a forest was laid out. Wow, this is amazing. Is this your first time seeing something like this? We ventured deeper into the dungeon in silence. Growl, growl. Soon, 7 wolves revealing themselves from the bushes began to surround us. Siwoo positioned himself, aware of my presence. Shihyun, let's cover Dali and slowly deal with the approaching wolves. Got it. Grasping the sword, I raised my focus. Dali, who seemed stone cold towards me, was still serious in her training, gathering her mana. Blue masses floated above her. I recognized what it was. A spirit user. Handling spirits was a known rare talent. Did she have such abilities? Guarded, I positioned myself when, without any incantations, the blue mass shot toward the surrounding wolves. Blood splattered, and the wave of mana compressed the hide. 1 wolf died instantly, and feeling threatened, the others started to charge at us. Here they come. Reacting to Siwoo's shout, I moved in response. I thrust the sword into the mouth of the wolf that charged at me first. With a short scream, I kicked the wolf's heart and blocked another, aiming for Dali's throat with a roundhouse kick. I thrust into the throat of the fallen wolf, and its struggling body went limp. The martial arts learned from the wooden dummies were more effective than I imagined. You're surprisingly good. Of course I am. I responded modestly to her seemingly surprised remark and lowered my sword. To my ears, her words sounded like, he seemed so weak, but moves well. Given her expression, my thought was probably correct. Meanwhile, Siwoo, a fellow human, had already killed 4 wolves and was returning. Luckily, after the first afternoon class ended, all 3 of us had free periods, so we sat in a cafe and chatted. Oh right, you mentioned last time something about becoming the husband of the world tree, didn't you? Yeah, I was curious about that. While sipping coffee, the topic naturally sprung up. It's true, but it's not a big deal. Not a big deal. It was a huge topic in the articles. Look at this. In the article Dali showed, a brightly smiling photo of Siwoo was accompanied by the journalist's praising words. How did it happen? I don't know, I was training, and suddenly there was this weird hologram. A window appeared. It asked me to become a husband. So, can you meet the world tree later? He obviously didn't want to talk about it. Should I score some points here? More importantly, you used spirit magic well earlier. When did you learn that? Oh, yes, you do use spirit magic well. As I casually made eye contact with Siwoo, he smiled gratefully at the small consideration. The friend window was updated immediately. The affinity also unexpectedly rose to 42. It was pretty easy with guys. I'll go to the bathroom for a bit. You two continue talking. As Siwoo left for the bathroom, Dali, who had been fluid in conversation, suddenly stopped talking. It seems like she is interested in Siwoo. Should I bring it up? But first, I had to deal with this horribly low affinity. So, what should I do? I heard praising someone's appearance works better than asking mundane questions. However, compliments from an ugly person can make him look like a stalker, even a criminal. You seem really close to Siwoo. Have you known each other for a long time? Yes, we have. Why? It's just a bit uncomfortable if you keep speaking formally. And comfortable with formal talk. But you talk normally with Siwoo. I seemed pretty persistent, even to myself. Just then, Siwoo returned. You're back. Seeing a slightly exhausted Dali, Siwoo tilted his head. What were you talking about? Oh, nothing. Dali looked at me, seemingly hoping I would go along with her. Right? It's nothing. In the evening, after class, I called out to Lee Seong and found a decent pub. I had never drunk here before, but I couldn't resist this time. As I drank, my words flowed more freely. Hey, criminal, are you drunk? Damn it, don't call me a criminal here, especially when you have your own criminal fantasies. What are you talking about? Who would have such fantasies? With a pretend angry face, Seong glared coldly. You really don't? What? Liking being assaulted? What kind of nonsense is that? Shall we verify? I murmured into her ear. Come with me. You. I won't let you get away with this. We will see about that. She said the same thing last time. Seong and I had been in a twisted relationship from the start. I would have died if I hadn't taken her, and fortunately, her preferences formed an odd connection with me. I stood up, paid for the food, and went outside to breathe in the still cold night air. Make friends. Then, friends with benefits are also friends. Seong, who followed me outside, seemed uncomfortable. Where should I go? A motel? No. Come in. Here. My feet stopped at the men's restroom in the park. Are you crazy? Sober up first. Go in. I forced her into the restroom, closed the door, and locked it. A clean, single-person restroom. Seong backed away as I stepped towards her and shouted in a tense voice. Don't do it. You can still stop now. I had never done such a play before, but I acted based on what I'd seen in adult videos. I lightly grabbed Seong's hair and pulled her to me.
3 days later.
Will you take responsibility? A shiver ran down my spine. It felt as if the world tree of purity from my dream would suddenly jump out and shout, you die. I was not ready to be a parent yet. One Shiba in my dormitory was enough. So, what is this acorn? What are you talking about? It was not a baby. Seong's statement relaxed me, relieving all the tension in my body. You're going to make me say it. I don't know, so tell me. It's the fruit that comes out when I climax. Suddenly, she was being formal. So, this kind of fruit appeared when she was satisfied to a certain degree. Seong's acorn. When consumed, it greatly aids in increasing wind magic qualities. This was valuable. I immediately put it in my mouth. A sour, astringent taste filled my mouth. It tasted full of the vitality of nature. Seong, who was watching me, shouted in panic. What are you doing? Eating the acorn. Why are you eating that? Why? Is it not allowed? It's not that it's not allowed. Seong blushed and buried her face in my chest again. Anyway, I'll be in your care. Yeah. Seong's voice, responding to my words, was unusually coquettish. After spending the night with Lee Seong, the next day, the important thing was the friend-making task I had to do from now on. I checked sneakily after being hit by Jin Dali's troubled look yesterday. The closest person to a friend was still Jin Dali. Jin Dali. Affection had certainly plummeted. I thought of making a new friend, but it didn't seem like the quest window was lying. Well, whatever. Friends, I had to make some. If I couldn't, I would die. I sighed heavily and scratched the back of my neck. Let's be strong. After stopping by the convenience store to buy expensive chocolate, I entered the academy. I put the bought chocolate on Jin Dali's seat and sat down leisurely. In my old world, from middle school, you were a good kid if you gave someone something to eat. You could buy a week's worth of favors with just one candy. Some time passed, and Dali and Siwoo entered the classroom. What is that? Looking at the chocolate that Siwoo pointed to, she slightly furrowed her brows and tilted her head. Yeah, who would have given it? Naturally, turning heads came my way. The distance was quite far, so I couldn't see the emotion in her eyes well. They definitely smiled. Yes, they smiled. Wasn't the power of a smile tremendous? I needed to be not just some sucker stuck in a corner of the classroom like any other, but a sweet guy who flirts with girls. They said you were a stalker if you hit on someone 10 times, but all roads lead to Seoul, didn't they? I pulled myself together and calmed my nerves. It was time to start making friends. I unwrapped a leftover chocolate, put it in my mouth, and entered the training ground where Master Wood training dummy was. There was already a guest there. Sensuyu. Her bright yellow long hair fluttered, and an aura as bright as her hair was shimmering around her body. The phenomenon that occurred when high-purity magic wrapped around one's body. I absent-mindedly watched her swordplay. Bang, bang. The surrounding air whirled in the path of her sword. It was the same sensation when I first faced Siwoo. Sensuyu was definitely fast and powerful. I followed her movement with my eyes. Following her sword, the remaining mist scattered in the air, showing peculiar shapes, like fully bloomed flower petals. A subtle image rose in my mind. Originally, I wouldn't be able to see her sword, but now I could. Every move was imprinted in my eyes, from the subtle movements of the muscles when taking a stance, the rotating wrist, to the bending sword blade. I had to train, but I couldn't resist. No, my body naturally moved, following her movements. The graceful and agile steps, the wrist movement. I took a stance as if I was holding a sword and mimicked her every move. When I came to my senses, Sensuyu was looking at me. Sensuyu was staring at me with her unique, emotionless expression. What are you? Her voice, murmuring without emotion, felt cold as well. Sensuyu, who came out into the corridor, strode right up to me. The scent of her sweat, rising from the wide open door, was sweet. Now, I also saw her t-shirt was soaked with sweat and stuck to her skin. Phew. Yes, what were you doing just now? Sensuyu's status was much higher than I imagined, so I responded, basing it on a respectful tone. I apologize. I bowed my head. Imitating someone's sword technique was considered disrespectful, and it wouldn't be strange if she killed me under the pretext of maintaining secrecy. Moreover, the Cornice family that Sensuyu belonged to was one of the most notable in Korea. In short, I was in the wrong. I was shocked and froze. In front of my eyes, a huge chest was declaring its existence. Was it not worthy of the title World's Best Chest and had more motherliness than the World Tree? Answer. Do you mean when I was imitating the sword technique earlier? You imitated. Yes, I apologize. I knew I shouldn't, but it looked so cool. Sensuyu, with her arms folded below her chest, looked at me with her vacant eyes. Show me. The swordsmanship Sensuyu practiced was designed for a lighter stabbing sword, not this crude one. Maybe she didn't have a training sword. Wooden swordsmanship third form, pruning. Tong, we, who had launched our techniques once, silently dropped the swords we were holding. The match was not decided. Neither of us had received enough damage to quit the match. It was just the sword we were holding had shattered to pieces. Every day at 6, except weekends. Pardon? She left before even hearing my response. Was she saying let's have a proper match or something like that? This was friendship. While I was grinning, Sensuyu slowly walked back and opened the training room door. She bowed her head and began picking up the wooden fragments. Cleaning. I was quietly observing when Sensuyu, who had cleaned up all the trash, left the training room again. She glared at me and ran away, laughing emptily while looking at the floor. There was not a piece of trash left. Whether it was intentional or not, she had cleaned up my mess as well. She's quite likable. Early morning, a flustered Jin Dali pulled out a large box from her bag. It was full of chocolates. Take it. You won't like what will happen if you don't. Her warning was cold, like midwinter snow, and contained myriad emotions. Did I make some mistake? I racked my brains but found no answer. Did I overdo it? After all, every available space was crammed with chocolates, enough to irritate anyone. I thought as I took the box, does she think I will stop this? No way. I should send it by courier at lunchtime. Lee Shihun's gift strategy was not over yet. 10 per box, 30 boxes, so 300 in total. Enough for 10 months.
12 seconds later.
Excuse me, a soft yet somewhat fierce voice. It was Jin Dali. Did she find out I sneakily sent a package to her dorm room during lunch? As I was calculating furiously in my head, a man approached from behind Jin Dali. Are you Lee Shihun? I've been waiting. A well-featured middle-aged man of handsome appearance. He looked like he would make a good politician. Who are you? Oh, my apologies, I haven't introduced myself. I am Dali's father. I sneaked a glance at Jin Dali. Her face was frozen, much colder than before. Seeing that, I thought, what's going on? I turned my gaze from Jin Dali to the so-called father. He was smiling kindly, a smile close to courtesy. Come to think of it, he said he was waiting for me. I cleared my throat, and he discreetly handed me a business card. Jinmok Group, Lee Seonghun, a gigantic corporation. The surnames are different. Haha. At my remark, Seonghun gave a bitter laugh. Dali's face twisted, looking at Seonghun. He must be her stepfather. I could also infer what Dali thought of her stepfather. It was complicated. I want to have a personal conversation with you right now. What do you think, Shihun? Seonghun subtly exerted pressure with his gesture. This was troublesome. Let's meet tomorrow at this time. I have other plans today. Oh, alright, I was the one suggesting the meeting, so I can adjust the time. Keep your schedule free tomorrow. Since he was the one suggesting, it was also his duty to adjust the time. Let's go back, Dali. I'm fine. Dali, who sharply hit his arm, stared at Seonghun with a cold expression. Given the situation, Seonghun scratched his chin awkwardly instead of getting angry. What was this situation, really? Then have a good time with Dali. Take care. I politely bowed my head in response. When I raised my head, Dali was glaring at me, looking irritated. So, what is it? It's nothing. What do you mean it's nothing? Tell me everything you know. That man wanted something from me. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. All right, I said nothing more. She must have her own reasons, and I knew very well that it was in her nature not to blabber about it. Trudging along, I heard a reluctant explanation from behind. To you, it will be a good thing, because he doesn't spare investments for his people. Her words sounded like it wasn't a good thing for her. From what she said, this man, Lee Seonghun, seemed to want me. Why would he want me? There was no need to cling to the unknown. And Dali despised her stepfather terribly, so she must also hate me getting close to her father. Judging by her reaction, she probably knew very well that her father was targeting me. If she didn't want me to join Lee Seong-hun, she would have persuaded me. But she didn't do that. The sure thing was that this situation wasn't something to be easily overlooked. I will find out more about everything tomorrow. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door 3 times. That father of Dali's wanted me for some reason. And I knew my own values, too. The crucial part was, how did that man recognize my value? Creak. Teacher, Seong, who was tapping on the keyboard, saw me and blushed slightly. I broke that atmosphere and spoke. Can I ask for a favor? Can you help me? I have to hear what it is before deciding whether to help or not. And asking for help suddenly. Is this something the guy who f***ed me the day before yesterday says? What are you saying? You agreed to have sex? That was in the heat of the moment. Seeing my serious gaze, Seong closed her mouth, pondered, and eventually sighed as if she had resigned. I'll help. All right, then I'll consider you as my backer. Teacher, I am also a candidate for the husband of the world tree. I didn't hear wrong, did I? Say it again. You heard correctly. So, you really are a candidate for being the husband of the world tree. Can you prove it? Just a moment. I immediately activated the system, went into the store and did a draw. Zing. Exactly 5 seconds later, a tree circle pill appeared in my hand. Lucky me. The tree circle pill I mentioned last time. I got all of them from drawing in the store. The information I heard does match. Seong, who saw the result with her own eyes, licked her dried lower lip and scratched the back of her neck. At her unusual reaction, I asked with a pretend smile, "Are you surprised?" "No." "You are surprised." "Damn it." "Yes, I am." "Are you happy now, scaring your teacher?" To be honest, it was fun. She was pretty, and I could forgive her for trying to backstab and kill me because she was cute. Seong, with a slightly red face, glared at me. So, what do you want help with? Just keep the fact that I am a husband candidate to yourself. Then I can't properly support you. So, I really tried to backstab the husband candidate of the world tree. It seems so. Seong, who reacted as if she couldn't believe it, shivered as she realized the reality. Anyway, there's a limit to my power. And, honestly, you should give me something too. I can give you any remaining tree circle pill when I draw. Alright then. What do you want help with? Dali's father. At my words, Seong's face stiffened. It's a long story. The Jin family originally had stronger power of the world tree in the women, so the family lineage followed the women. Yes, Dali's father was a human. He was said to have raised the Jinmok group with his good prowess. I don't remember his name. The important thing is, they were a couple who got along fairly well, Jin Yohui and her husband. One day, there was a rumor that the secretary hired by her husband had an affair with Jin Yohui. Adultery. Then what about Dali's father? He committed suicide. I sort of understood the reason why Jin Dali made a face as if she could kill someone then. Why she harbored resentment towards that man. So, it's natural for Jin Dali to hold a grudge. Yes, she might even be planning revenge. Seeking revenge against someone who did such a thing to her father was natural. There was a separate critical issue. Then do we think that the stepfather knows what we know? He probably does. Lee Seong-hun. That man knew the truth. Just with that, I could already tell he was scheming something sinister. He left Jin Dali's revenge alone. In this case, 2 interpretations were possible. Either he was confident he could control Jin Dali at any time, or Jin Dali's revenge might bring him benefits. Jin Dali might be trying to get revenge, even knowing the fact. It was essentially a Cold War situation. I understand. Thank you. Just as I was about to leave the office, Seong, holding the tree circle pill tightly, spoke. Hey, yes, I have something I'm curious about too. She tilted her head. Why did the candidate for the husband of the world tree do that with me? What? I had too many guesses and made a clueless face, and Seong twitched her mouth corner. Oh, that. I, stepping out of the door, spoke a word. I dislike the world tree. I'm definitely going to marry a human. Take care. Ignoring the surprised-looking Seong, I left. Having finished all the tasks, I checked the time. It was just a little past 6. I wondered if it would be okay since I was past the agreed time. But, more than worrying, I hastened my steps with the desire to get there quickly. You're here. Her voice, just by hearing it, could make one's heart flutter. I came here today to say that I couldn't train, but I think I can't exert myself today. Why? Sensuyu's eyes narrowed slightly. I have someone I must see tomorrow. Can we start the day after tomorrow? I wanted to do it with you today, she murmured, fiddling with her hair as if she was sulking. Could this be a death flag? A chill ran down my spine. I'm sorry. Instead, I will comply with anything I can do. I found myself making excuses. Survival was the priority. Brace yourself, Li Shihan. Anything. With her typical expressionless face, she glanced at the eyes behind my mask. So, my heart raced. On one hand, I felt I shouldn't have said that. On the other, I thought I was stupid. Sensuyu, rolling her yellow eyes towards the ceiling or the mirror, asked me with a determined face as if she had a difficult request. How about? Yes, how about being friends? Caught off guard, she hurriedly added an explanation. Jihu, yes, Shihu, told me to make friends. Can I ask who this Jihu or Shihu is? My secretary. And it's Miho, not Shihu. Whether it was Miho, Jihu, or Shihu, it seemed certain that someone had influenced Sensuyu's thoughts. I see. I smiled wryly and thought to myself, not necessarily doomed. Kudos to the secretary. I should repay the kindness to the secretary who saved my life someday. So, are we friends starting today? Nod nod. Looking at the still emotionless Suyu, I felt relieved. Okay, but are you really okay with me? I have no one else to be friends with anyway. I laughed inwardly again at Sensuyu's personality. Things were going well. While smiling kindly, Sensuyu let out a sigh and asked me, name. Come to think of it, we hadn't introduced ourselves properly. It's Li Shihan. Miss Hun. I'll remember. No, it's Li Shihan. Li Sion. She, seemingly convinced my name was Li Sion, extended her small, pale hand towards me. Pleased to work with you, Li Sion. It's not Li Sion, it's Li Shihan. Li Shihan. That's it. Pleased to work with you. After several corrections, finally, my name came out of her mouth. I grabbed Sensuyu's hand and shook it several times. Good, good, okay. After letting go of my hand, Sensuyu inquired about my reaction and once again extended her hand to shake mine. Good? Yeah. Jihu said that friends should do good things for each other. Seeing Sensuyu continuously mentioning her secretary, I let out a bitter laugh. It seemed she was not even confident whether her actions were right. Sion, seeing my face, Sensuyu tilted her head. Didn't you say you're leaving? Huh? You have work tomorrow. Go. All right. I should leave. The day after tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Having received the appointment time, I left the training room. The next day, right after my afternoon class ended, I headed to the pre-decided location. As I reached the main gate, Li Xianghan welcomed me with open arms and a warm smile. I've been waiting. His smile, seemingly caring, even exhibiting affection at a glance, felt reassuring, but I knew it was all an act. Therefore, I put on my best facade and approached him. Nice to see you. Shall we go to a nearby cafe? No, I have a place in mind. Let's go there. He led me to a foreign car of an unknown model, tinted so you couldn't see inside from outside. I accepted his courtesy and got in the car, which soon started and took off. Within the mildly vibrating car, Li Xianghan spoke. How have you been getting along with Dali? What could someone like me possibly? There's no need to be conscious of status differences. Is that so? Do you wear that mask every day? I paused the conversation for a moment before responding. Yes, I have my reasons. I see. So, what did you want to talk to me about? Skip the pointless talk and get to the point. How much do you know about the World Tree? The World Tree, isn't it the mighty entity that controls the skies above and the lands below, and looks after us? Yes, that's what most people know. In my eyes, he was a jerk, but in this world, the World Tree was Yahweh, Buddha, and Allah. Everyone firmly believed in the World Tree. But you don't believe in the World Tree, do you? As I was thinking, Xianghan suddenly asked a penetrating question. I naturally did not believe in the World Tree, but sometimes that disbelief could lead to punishment. The religion in this world was absolutely supreme. How could that be? I believe in the World Tree. You can be honest. I don't believe either. The World Tree will eventually destroy our lives. What do you mean? All the blessings from the World Tree are all ridiculous. The moving car stopped in front of a building. Come out. I have a lot to talk to you about. I followed him without saying a word, continuously thinking. What did Li Xianghan want from me? Why did he want me? I regretted not increasing my intelligence. Seeing him belittle the World Tree in front of me, it seemed like he knew about my feelings. But he didn't seem to know that I was a World Tree's spouse candidate. Did that even make sense? It hadn't even been 200 days since I came to this world. It was virtually impossible for someone else to know about me. It meant only one thing. Some transcendental entity provided information to Li Xianghan or the power he belonged to. So, what's the main point? Silence ensued once again. Li Xianghan's face no longer bore the semblance of gentleness. Only the aura of a cold, ruthless leader remained. The oracle has descended. What? They ordered me to bring you in. Oracle. Just moments ago, he was muttering about the World Tree, and now he was invoking the name of a deity. As I pondered this, a term crossed my mind. Cult. To call it a cult felt somewhat inappropriate. In this world, gods truly existed. The existence of other gods wouldn't be strange. Who is this god? Lee Seong-han faintly smiled, inspected my face, and opened his mouth. He is known to none, but he is always with us. When you come to realize, you will know, too. His casual tone made my body jerk involuntarily. It felt like I had encountered genuine madness. We intend to overthrow the World Tree. His voice was profound and dark, almost abyssal. Not just the World Tree, we must utterly destroy its very foundation. This aligned subtly with my desires. Revenge against the World Tree. That was what I have wanted since I landed in this other world. A small crack appeared in the hologram window in my sight. Surprised, I checked and saw a twisted smile on Lee Seong-han's face. These people, who were adversaries to the World Tree, had significant power. The existence of such a group wasn't odd. The existence of challengers to rights and established privileges has been a constant in every advanced civilization, at every time and place. So, you've taken over an entire company like this. Don't make it sound so sinister. It was necessary. Aren't you a human? So am I. Lee Seong-han chuckled and placed a bead on the desk, a gem emitting a pink aura. 1,000 years ago, there was a human who challenged the World Tree. That person was special. When Lee Seong-han lightly touched the bead, it shimmered. Here, it is said to contain that man's power. With this, subduing the wooden people is very easy. How? When I asked, Seong-han laughed as if he was revealing a surprising fact. Is this brainwashing? No. Ultimately, it's a kind of pleasure. The tree people who have tasted this power can't live without it. It's like a drug. So that was the method. Jin Yohui, too. At my casual question, Lee Seong-han nodded. If you apply it a few times, she will delusionally fall in love. Insane. I made my judgment there. So, what do you think? Not bad. But the last time I saw you, Dali didn't seem to like you much. Does this bead also have limits? Dali is a bit special. She too is a being on whom Oracle has descended. Seong-han paused for a moment and stroked his chin. Her resentment can become a great power. It means accelerated growth and abilities. When she's all grown, we devour her. Was that even possible? That powerful woman also eventually succumbed under me. Wouldn't her daughter be the same? Or I could give her daughter to you. How about it? Will you join us? I gave him the best answer I could give at this moment. Sounds really good. Lee Seong-han was smiling. Greetings, brother. Please accept this. From Apostle Lee Seong-han, a gift to Apostle Lee Shihin. And there's a message. What is it? In 3 days, he plans to attack the academy. He says the time has come as Jin Dali, the prospective apostle, has grown enough. So soon. I tried to reply but thought better of it and kept my composure. Jin Dali didn't seem that strong when I saw her last. It's natural since she used a low-tier spirit. Her handling ability is sufficient if she can subdue a wolf monster with a low-tier spirit. I nodded to signify understanding. The hooded individuals bowed and disappeared like the wind. The fact that he didn't specify a time and location means he still doesn't trust me. Well, it's natural. Probably, he planned to test me on this matter. Is he planning to abduct Jin Dali? Not a chance. It was an opportunity to screw over the World Tree, but I planned to take advantage of them and then betray them. Betrayal was betrayal, but there were other important things. How much could I do against that heretical militant group? Since time was also scarce, I skipped the morning classes and was swinging my sword in the training ground. At best, I am at the level of a beginner hunter. Regrettable, of course, compared to right before entering, I had grown several times stronger. Why are you training all of a sudden? Would you believe it if I told you something would happen at the academy in 3 days? I heard that some nefarious cultists will attack in 3 days. Anyway, I have to train. I don't intend to solve this alone, but shouldn't I increase my chances of survival? I don't know yet if what I heard will really happen. Lee Seong-han did not tell me the exact time and place. This meant there was a possibility that what I heard was false, so it needed to be verified. Prepare simply but adequately. Do you have to go to the academy that day? I don't know what you are talking about, but no. Just like today, you just have to be in the training ground or the dormitory. The matter is too big. In other words, she was worried. This is no joke. Honestly, I don't think you can do anything. It was a painful remark, especially coming from Seong. As she was an instructor at the academy, she certainly had substantial strength. I acknowledge your talent from what I saw just now. But there's a big difference between humans and tree people. There's a reason why tree people are considered nobility. Not only do we have higher basic abilities, but half of our structure is also similar to the World Tree. Since the World Tree of this world was worshipped as a god, it wouldn't be strange for tree people to be considered demigods. Moreover, occasionally, there existed individuals who had inherited the power of the world tree by quite a significant margin. They were said to be able to temporarily make their bodies equivalent to the world tree. The wooden armor emerging from Seong's body covered her body like well-trained armor. 2 large branches extended from each side of her neck, and thick roots covered her lower body. The somewhat brutal sight was no longer human but of a tree. "Do you think you can win against me now?" Her coarse voice had turned aggressive. "It's too dangerous. Give up. It involves terrorists. If I can fight, will you leave me alone?" "Are you serious?" "Yes, why not?" Proving worth was only possible by directly fighting. It seemed like it would be good training, and fighting against a tree person using liberation would certainly be a valuable experience. A giant root smashed into the ground. Boom. Instinct continuously yelled at me that my life was in danger. Swoosh. The roots swung in from both sides. I can do this. The moment I thought that, bam, the nerves throughout my body that warned me of danger tightened. My cerebrospinal fluid boiled. The dark shadow filled my view. A sharp pain ran down my spine. It would be a fatal wound if I didn't block it. What was coming at me was the giant hammer she had been holding from the start. It was as big as my body. Damn it. My vision blinked once. My body flew back, cutting through the air. I tightly closed my eyes, endured the impact applied to my whole body, and coughed up my breath. The state of my body as it rolled on the ground was indescribable. It really damn hurts. "Are you okay?" I just passed out. I know. Gradually, through the melting tree bark, I saw Seong playfully smiling. "It hurts like hell. Obviously. Who do you think I am? Did you think you could handle it?" "Hell no. I really didn't know she'd be this strong." "I'm really strong, right? This is the power of your teacher." I got up and stretched my muscles. "I'll try everything I can. In 3 days, right? The time and exact location are unknown." "I got it. Shall we continue?" "Continue." Sensuyu, breathing heavily with her mouth wide open, prompted her opponent to resume. "Putting in power is good, but your center is slightly off. This time, you went too far." Though today was the first time we were sparring, it was fun and exhilarating. "You've improved a lot." Sensuyu looked shocked. It was interesting to see cracks in her usually emotionless face. "It's different from last time." "I suppose so, but I still can't beat you." I wasn't teasing. Under the assumption that I poured out all my power, I was genuinely still weaker than Sensuyu. My basic ability level was much lower, and the difference in our power was substantial. You seem to grow too fast." She eyed me suspiciously, wiping a bead of sweat. "Are you a cheat?" "My growth has indeed been exceptionally rapid lately." But calling it cheating, was that something Sensuyu should say? "Shall we go eat for now?" They said not to eat outside. Parents' words are meant to be broken. We left the training area 2 hours early and found a nearby pub. The sun was still high, but daytime drinking was the real deal. As soon as the draft beer and chicken arrived, Sensuyu, who had been watching them, had questions in her eyes. "Beer? Yeah, I've never had it before." While I tore a chicken leg myself, I offered it to Sensuyu. "Do I eat this?" "Don't use chopsticks. Use your hands." With hands, Sensuyu cautiously ate the chicken leg. She crunched and chewed. "It's different from what we eat at home. Food outside is delicious. It's an unwritten rule." "Try the beer, too." Sensuyu gulped down the beer and put down the glass, letting out a short cough. Sensuyu didn't seem embarrassed. I also enjoyed my beer with chicken. The fizziness and pleasant bitterness circulated in my mouth. "Isn't happiness simple? It's beer and chicken." "Happiness? Do you feel it?" "Not sure." Sensuyu, with her head down, was staring at the glass in her hand. It was clear that she was from Jindali's class of people. If Jindali was too sensitive, Sensuyu was too insensitive. "Let me show you how to eat green onion chicken. Put a lot of green onions like this and open your mouth." Sensuyu, with the chicken in her mouth, moved her lips and narrowed her eyes. It seemed that she felt the spiciness. "It stings in the nose, and also the tongue." "That's called spiciness. It's part of Korean culture." Sensuyu, chewing diligently, wiped a tear with her finger. "It doesn't seem bad." Gulp. "It hurts." Gulp. "It hurts." Sensuyu, who was continuously eating the spicy chicken, moaned repeatedly. She seemed addicted to the stimulation. "Is it good?" After finishing the meal, I quietly asked Sensuyu. "Yes." Sensuyu still had an expressionless face and nodded. A tiny tear was in the corner of her eye. The day before the task, a believer who came to me handed over a red crystal ball with a magic circle drawn on it. This crystal allows you to transport one person within 3 meters to our cult's basement. While we fulfill our main objective, we wish for you to bring apprentice apostle Jindali with you. Understood. I accepted the crystal ball. Inside it was a magic circle that even I couldn't decipher. This is like giving a fish to a cat. There's a full academy meeting around 2 o'clock. They probably targeted that time. It's under the authority of the World Tree, so attendance is mandatory. Well, just don't die. It'll be bothersome if my friend dies. Just admit you'll be lonely without me. Not at all. There's a limit to self-consciousness being cute, dumbass. At 10, the math pop quiz was quite difficult. At 11, with the professor absent from her seat, I was able to organize my thoughts. At 12, I went to the cafeteria alone and had lunch. At 1, I found a spot where Jin Dali couldn't see me and began to watch her. A subtle sense of unease, urging me to get out of here immediately, began to seep in. The magical energy in the air was moving. A few students with keen senses seemed to notice the anomaly and were murmuring. I took out my cell phone from my pocket and called the number Seong had given me. Yes, who's this? It seems like it's about to start now. The sound of a fistfight could be heard from the phone. Turning my head towards the ongoing lecture, the place where the instructor had been standing was now splattered with blood. Behind me appeared a figure in a black hood. Apostle Lee Shihin. We are ready. The cultists were fast, but I could catch and follow them with my eyes without using magic as I adapted to their speed. You traitor, one cultist cried out. Shihyun, I kept my promise. Young Siwoo looked slightly surprised, and Sensuyu stood there, still expressionless as ever. In their hands, both held swords seized from the cultists. Apostle Lee Shihyun, your actions are unforgivable. I took a breath and opened my mouth towards the man in front of me. It seems like you expected I would do something like this, didn't you? It's a pity, brother. I had hoped you would successfully complete this task and join our side. If you repent now, we will overlook your mistakes. The World Tree just said to go f*** yourself. Haha, want to make jokes at a time like this? I'm serious. The World Tree wants you to know it called your mother whore. You've crossed the line. Jin Dali's eyes widened. Why in the world was that man? Numerous thoughts flashed through her mind in a short moment. Boom, magical energy exploded, and flesh was torn apart. Bleeding from his arm, the man continued his desperate fight. Lee Shihyun was fighting there. Please, help him, not me. Sensuyu seemed to contemplate for a moment, then shook her head. No, I have a different role, and Shihyun is strong. Indeed, as she said, Lee Shihyun was strong. When had he become so strong? This couldn't go on like this. And I'm also, swoosh, pretty busy. Sensuyu spoke as she beheaded a fanatic who had ambushed Jin Dali from behind. If she did nothing in this situation, not only would she be repeating the tragedy of that day, but she could also lose herself. Liberation. When I turned, a giant tree had grown where Jin Dali stood. Liberation. From her shoulders, branches spread out, on which blood-red azaleas were blooming. Over the roots and stems grotesquely attached to Jin Dali's body, there was bark-like armor as if it were protecting her. The falling petals danced in the wind and then swarmed the surrounding fanatics like moths to a flame. As the fluttering petals touched them, flames erupted. Even as his brethren were dying, Seonghan's face was filled with smiles. Seonghan, the first cold word that flowed from Jin Dali's mouth. Daughter, come to me. Shut up. Seonghan slowly reached into his pocket and showed a giant, crimson magic stone. At a glance, the magic stone was emanating a dangerous light. Apostle Lee Shihyun, you're trying to do something stupid. Seeing my actions, he sneered. I infused magical power into the crystal. Naturally, the target was Seonghan in front of me. Isn't it over once the leader is gone? Jin Dali was puzzled, but I ignored her and stared at Seonghan. The teleportation spell activated. Seonghan, biting his lower lip, looked troubled. This is bad. Are you surprised? Stay safe. I will be back soon. I thought of the sentence and opened my mouth to utter the first syllable. Stay saw. I was cut off mid-sentence, and the scenery changed. I never thought you'd go this far, brother Lee Shihyun. Could you please stop calling me brother? So you care that much about our daughter. Thinking of risking your life and all. Finding the hideout of terrorists was extraordinarily tricky, especially for a world-famous terrorist group. What would cost billions to find could be resolved with just one locator. Seonghan was a big fish. Seonghan, rubbing his forehead as if he had been tricked, drew his sword from his waist. But you can't escape. You can't activate teleportation inside the basement. The floor was covered in bright red soil. Above it, a large tree was visible. I didn't know its name. It didn't strike me like Lee Seong or Sensuyu. Not a single leaf covered it. How is it, brother? Seeing him smirk boastfully, I frowned. Do you see this as a god? Isn't this a world tree? Don't dare to compare him to the world tree. Magic vibrated in his sword. Suddenly, I was taken aback by the unexpectedly furious Seonghan. Seonghan, his face abruptly contorted, rushed at me with enormous momentum. Our tightly gripped swords crossed. Wooden sword technique 3, pruning. Magic sparked, and blood splattered. Pain surged in both of my shoulders. My trembling arms were screaming. The tendons in my left arm might have been severed, as it refused to move, no matter how hard I tried. Damn, I muttered a curse and adjusted into a one-handed sword stance. I saw where I had to stab. I bent my body and sprang forward like an arrow. Crack, straight, yet faster than he could see, the thrusting sword blade penetrated Seong-hun's cheek. The sword blade, piercing through his skull, crushed the brain. Get up now. We need to go to the auditorium. He's okay, right? Siwon is fine. It's all according to Siwon's plan. She wanted to believe that too. She hoped that Sihyun was alive. Realizing such feelings, regret surged from deep within her heart. This wouldn't have happened if she had believed in him from the start. Why did he have to? Why did he have to sacrifice so much for me? The revenge she longed for against her stepfather ended in an unexpected way, and that lifelong goal disappeared like dust. Everything was resolved due to the plan of a man she disliked. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking on her dormitory door. Come in. Jin-dali, are you okay? Yes, I've gotten much better. If you forcibly draw out power, it's natural for your body to react like that. Be careful next time. Jin-dali hugged one of her arms with a bitter smile. It felt numb, as if paralyzed. But don't worry too much. It will return to normal in about a week. Teacher, when will Sihyun come? Sihyun? He was found in a basement below, trapped and full of wounds, but not dead. He's currently in a hospital supervised by the association. It'll take at least a week to return to the academy since he's seriously injured. His magic circuit is also damaged. I see. However, that was all in the past now. Contrasting with Seong's relieved face, Jin-dali bowed her head with a face full of guilt. Read it. Pardon, it's from Sihyun, so read it. Can we be friends now? In disbelief, she could only let out a hollow laugh. In a room where incense burned, a man with a stern face looked at the ceiling and then glanced at a child standing by the door, forcing a smile. Daddy, yes? Oh my, what has our princess been up to? Is Daddy going somewhere again? Just going out for work. I'll be back after 5 nights. 5 nights. Then I have to sleep fast to see Daddy. Hehe. Dali, who had been tilting her head, giggled a few more times, then fell asleep on the bed. The spirit that flowed from the man's palm tilted its head. The spirit then lay beside Dali, realized its role, and closed its eyes. The man left the room with a stern face. His steps in the corridor felt heavier today. As things were, everyone connected to him would be harmed. All that was left to him, who had lost everything, was his precious daughter, Dali. He opened the door and entered the room. He saw a rope hanging from the ceiling. The man, leaving Dali's side, prayed to the world tree that someday someone would appear to take his place for her. When I opened my eyes, a strange ceiling was in front of me. Did the mission go well? Considering I'm not injured, it seems like I somehow passed. Reward? That's not important right now. I swiped away the status window and closed my eyes, lying comfortably on the bed. I crossed my legs as if in my own room and tried to make myself as comfortable as possible. I took a deep, even breath, savoring the relaxation. I missed having a cell phone, but in my private room, a TV and a laptop were prepared for me. It seemed to be a place for me, the hero of this subjugation of the cult. A few hours later, a knock came from the door. I'm coming in. The door opened, and a white hand popped out. The hand withdrew, and a face peeked in. The ends of her yellow hair were dyed orange, and she had yellow, star-shaped pupils. It was a distinctive appearance that, once seen, would never be forgotten. I don't know this face, but something is odd. As I pondered, there was indeed one person with such a voice in my memory, a friend of the teacher. My name is Byul, and I'm also the vice president of the Korea Hunter Association. Oh, yes, I am Lee Sihyun. I know, you're that brazen kid, right? A noisy woman. Every move was exaggerated, but her appearance didn't make it look ridiculous at all. Byul wiggled over to where I was sitting on the bed, bringing her face close to mine. Her large eyes narrowed like crescents, and her expression hardened. So, you're really the one who resolved this case. It's fortunate that Seong's partner is capable. Please sit here first. Your legs must be tired. Oh, you're considerate too. At that moment, I had a premonition that things were going to get troublesome. So, how did you meet Seong? Is that really a necessary question? Of course the girl who rejected all proposals is kneeling before me because of a guy, right? Did she really kneel? Want to know how she asked? I decided not to hear it because knowing the truth would really make me feel guilty. Thank you, Lee Seong. I will repay this debt double someday. I have a favor to ask you. I raised an eyebrow at Byul's words. Do you know anything about the nomad in Lee Seong-han's hideout? I mean, in the basement of Branch 42. Branch 42. Oh, you don't know yet. Byul kindly disclosed some confidential information right there. An organization targeting the annihilation of the world tree, flower, and dozens of cult groups derived from flower. The cult group Lee Seong-han belonged to reportedly played a role in flexibly providing funds to flower. Is it okay to tell me these things? Why not? You're Seoyoung's partner, so it's fine. So, coming back, do you know anything about the nomad? If you mean the tree I saw, then, to be honest, I don't know much. Really, it was calling you, though. The nomad was calling me. I tilted my head, and Byul's eyes widened. You really didn't know anything? Yes? Well, it's okay. What I'm asking is something else. I want you to talk to that nomad in the basement of this building. Talk? Yes. It absolutely refuses to talk with me. Strangely, it seems to be looking for you. It seemed like a very bothersome task. It's a rare opportunity to talk with the nomad, you know. Especially you. You seem to have an affinity with trees or wood. You'll definitely be able to talk. Don't tell me. You really don't want to. Strange. People usually have talking with a nomad on their bucket list. So, will you do it if I prepare something for you? What can you prepare? She showed one finger. 1,000,000 won. It's 10,000,000 won. I closed my mouth, remained silent for a while, and then showed a thin smile. Why not? Let's go right away. At the end of the dark hallway, as I opened the door from where the light was seeping, there stood a tree that I had seen somewhere before. This tree is still unknown to the world. Its governing concepts and abilities are unknown. I was thinking on my way here, how does one converse with a tree? Don't blame me if I fail. Who knows? Byul looked at the tree. The smooth tree without any rough bark seemed to have its own emotions, swaying its branches lightly. It seems very happy to see you. Byul patted my shoulder and energetically waved as she left the room. I'll go watch a drama. Do well. Are you leaving? Byul left without answering. What should I say? Recalling the place where I fought Lee Seong-han, I decided to ask about those crazy cultists first. Who are you to have such followers? The branches rustled as if responding to my stern voice, but there was no conversation. Can't you talk? The tree reached out its branches when I tilted my head. Reaching out and holding the branch, a ripe female voice echoed in my head. I had encountered many bizarre things that something like this didn't arouse any special emotion. What was surprising was that she seemed relatively normal. I thought she would be a crazy world tree worshipped by cultists. Smiling gently, I told her my name, Lee Shihyun. Her branches swayed as if she was happy to communicate with someone. It seemed somewhat cute. Might as well befriend her to extract some information. The branches of the tree gradually extended towards me. It didn't take long for my wrists to be entwined with the branches. I then realized that a white energy was covering my body. Closing my eyes and concentrating, I could feel my damaged energy circuit slowly healing. I surrendered myself to the world tree. At this rate, I could be discharged in 3 days. It seemed to possess some healing ability. I would have to relay this to Byul. The tree branch holding my wrist tightened, and from who knows where roots sprouted from below the soil and began to crawl up my body. A thin root intrusively entered my pants, proficiently sliding down my thigh. Goosebumps spread across my body. Damn it, I thought wrong. All the trees in this world, except for my daughter, were sinful. I miss Sheba. I hadn't even watered her. Sheba's smiling face flickers before my eyes. Tears welled up, and I lifted my head. The tree lady who was restraining me slowly moved her main body on top of me. This was hell. Did Lee Seong feel like this? I was ready to apologize countless times. In the last struggle, I shouted fiercely, I'm a married man. You bastard. How could I possibly enjoy being assaulted by a tree? I glared at the tree with a face that I think I saw in some thin book. Status, lustful demon. Unable to control sexual desire and vitality drastically increases. One can feel interest and pleasure in abnormal sexual desires. This was insane. In shock, I vehemently sang the national anthem in my mind, from the first to the fourth verse. I lost consciousness for a moment, feeling like my soul was leaving my body. I opened my eyes at the sound of the astonished alarm from the system. I was walking a forbidden path. A wave of self-loathing surged from deep within me, and I sighed, closing my eyes. I, the 20-year-old Lee Shihyun, sold my body for 10,000,000 won. Hello, were you having a good conversation with the nomad? Entering the room, Byul's innocent smile gradually crumbled as she waved her hand vigorously. I, with disheveled clothes and a tearful face, didn't say anything, my head buried in my arms. So, honestly, I still can't believe that the tree did such a thing to you. So, Shihin, about Sejong. Keep it a secret. I sighed. Yeol's face turned anxious. I had no intention of talking about being assaulted, but I pretended to be slightly upset. I'm really sorry. Should I kneel? I softened my expression and smiled warmly. No, it's okay. I received this, so it's fine. Saying so, I shook the elixir in my hand. With the elixir and the healing ability, I gained a lot in exchange for my body, so I decided to let this incident slide. That's a relief. Are you not angry anymore? How could I be angry at you, Byul? The bad one is the tree. Byul hugged me tightly with a bright smile. A cold voice came from behind. What are you guys doing? Hearing the voice, Byul, who was hugging me, turned her neck to look at her. What are you doing to our kid? I was hugging a cute comrade after a battle. And Shihin, if you're awake, you should let me know, okay? Hey, crazy Byul, were you always this clingy to guys? He's handsome, so I just hugged him. Handsome? Sejong looked at me for a moment. Him? Yup. You have some unique taste. How is he handsome? No way. Our Shihin is handsome. Our Shihin. Want to die. Anyway, get in the car quickly. I drove for 5 hours because of you, jerk. Since she came from far away, I didn't argue any further. The luxurious imported car smoothly exited the parking lot and drove on the road. Hey, how's your body? It was rather good. I watched TV and used a laptop. I actually want to be hospitalized one more time. How's the magic circuit? Oh, and could you hand me some water? Sejong opened the bottle of water I handed her and drank while scanning the roads around us. A drop of water trickled down from the corner of her mouth to her collarbone. Seeing the droplet, Sejong stealthily gave me a mischievous look, seemingly asking me to wipe it off. When I reached for the tissue, having put the bottle of water away, lick it off. Unexpected words popped out. Stop talking nonsense. We're driving. The teacher is excellent at driving. I comfortably sat in the seat and pulled out 3 tickets from the bag Byul had handed me. A coupon that allowed you to receive a gift that the other person currently wanted the most. It was used immediately upon tearing. This was the reward for overcoming this ordeal. Considering all the trouble we went through to save a friend, I was not sure whether the reward was good or bad. The most desired gift. I sneakily turned my head and looked at Sejong. She had been a great help. It was the perfect time to give her a gift. With certainty, I tore the coupon. What was this? You beast. Startled, Sejong, who had glimpsed the pink box in my hand, looked at me, her face pale and rigid. The look was one of contempt. Were you thinking of such things even now? I want to explain. Forget it. You vulgar being. Obviously, you'll drag someone into some dark place, shut them up, and go at it like an animal. This was what you wanted. The words climbed up to my throat, but I swallowed them again. Imagining the flustered face of Sejong after hearing the truth, it was better not to say it. She would likely slap me, her face red. Sometimes, telling lies was better. I pretended to be hurt and silently looked out the window. Various shops lined the alleys where Sejong parked the car, from karaoke bars to pubs. Sejong took out a black can from the back of the car and gave me a suggestive look. It was beer. Why are you opening it? Sejong, who put down the beer can, showed a triumphant smile. I can't drive now. This was driving me insane. Sejong pressed her lips against mine. I embraced Sejong tightly and pulled away from the kiss. Sejong, with her eyes sparkling, seemed to crave something as she wrapped her arms around my neck, pressing her lips there. Didn't we decide to spend the night together that day? Thinking about it, we also promised to watch a movie. Might as well make the most of the time we have. I unbuckled Sejong's seatbelt and opened the car door. Sejong, with a face full of regret, stepped out. Where to? I'm hungry. Let's eat and watch a movie. How about it? Whether she grasped the gist of my words, Sejong approached me with quick steps, alternating her gaze between the motel and the shops. Well, we have plenty of time. Yes, we had plenty of time. Holding Sejong's hand, I walked into the cinema and approached the counter clerk with a smile. I chose a movie that seemed fairly interesting. I didn't know what was interesting since there were no movies from the world I lived in. Couple seats, please. I chose seats for 2 and bought popcorn and cola. Sitting with our hands tightly held, she mumbled. Bastard, you wanted to watch a movie with me that much. I did. I responded, thinking it was the right thing to say. There was no reply. When I turned my head, Sejong's face was as red as a ripe apple. If we're on a date, why don't you take off the mask? I took off the mask and showed my bare face. Her eyes, staring at me, were larger and rounder than any eyes I had ever seen. I could hear Sejong's breath catch in her throat. The movie began. So this was a date. I didn't realize she was acting so benignly because of that. Then, I should match her vibe. When I reached out towards Sejong's shoulder, she was startled. What are you doing? I thought you'd like this. Clasping her shoulder, Seong's small head gently rested against my chest. Even in the dim light, I could see her blushing as our eyes met. Was it true that a tough exterior hides a tender heart? Her once stiff head was now naturally leaning on me. I held her other hand. Seong's fantasy about love that I know of. She, with even her ears turning red, breathed heavily. Eventually, she slowly accepted the situation, and our eyes met. By the end of the movie, I couldn't remember much about the film's story, since most of the time was spent teasing Seong. From sharing a cola with the same straw to feeding her popcorn, I had done everything possible in a cinema. Indeed, she was fun to tease. What would you like to eat, Professor? Meat. I'll grill it for you. Are we drinking? I think we should today. Naturally, we headed to a nearby barbecue restaurant. We ordered frozen pork belly. We may not agree on many things, but we do when it comes to food. Seong seemed very satisfied, too, grilling the meat with various levels of doneness. Seong, like a little bird, sat in the front seat and watched the meat. I raised my soju glass. Cheers. The taste of pork belly eaten after surviving a great ordeal was good enough to make me forget even being violently attacked. Wrap meat in rice and lettuce and take a sip of alcohol. Wrap only radish strips with meat and take a sip of alcohol. As we poured and drank, it was soon dawn. Seong was blushing slightly. I felt it was about time, so I stood up and paid. The walk to the motel was quiet. Occasional couples were visible. Are those people also going for? You know, they must be. This is my first time going to a motel with a guy. How should I know? Really, it's your first time. Yeah, thank you for giving your virginity to me at 26. You bastard. You were a virgin nerd until recently, too. We stopped by the car to grab the condoms I prepared and went into the motel. The motel clerk did gawk at Seong, but it was expected. That day, I used a total of 22 condoms, and we did it 24 times. And I got a basket of acorns. Sheba, you've been waiting a lot, haven't you? As soon as I arrived at the academy, the first thing I did was feed Sheba. Sheba's sprout, which I was seeing for the first time in a while, was drooping. Sheba, as if to announce that it was upset, turned its sprout towards the window, away from me. When did this kid become so smart? While admiring inwardly and moving my seat to the window, Sheba once again turned its sprout towards the door. If I moved towards the door, it turned towards the window. If I moved towards the window, it turned to the door. It was upset just because I didn't feed it for a few days. It surely wouldn't have starved, as I had asked Seong to water it occasionally during these 2 weeks. In short, this Sheba was throwing a tantrum now. I sprinkled clean mineral water and patted Sheba's sprouts. Squeak. When I gently tapped it with my finger, it seemed a bit appeased and finally showed its sprout to me. Sheba's sprout had grown quite a bit. It grew well, probably because it was young. Then, I've watered it. Shall we go out for a walk? At this time, it was time for the students to leave school. I should meet Sensuyu after such a long time and show off my growth. The thought of Sensuyu being surprised at my improved skills made me chuckle. I considered visiting the gym and library, but I then turned my steps to the salad bar on the first floor. A woman with short pink hair and a sweatshirt that matched her hair color was stiffened when she saw me. Eyes with slight dark circles, a skirt revealing her thighs. Jin Dali lost her words upon seeing me in a mask. When did you come? Stammering, she clenched her fists and spoke. Her face was a bit flushed. Was she awkward in talking to others? I didn't think that was the case considering Siwoo. I came today. Answering without much thought, Jin Dali bowed her head and said, I see. The silence lingered. It was awkward. Perhaps Jin Dali was still bothered by our last encounter. Sorry. It was hard to imagine that proud Jin Dali would feel sorry. I ended up being the first to speak. Don't worry about last time. I did it because I wanted to. Don't worry about it. It was nothing. It's fine. Jin Dali might see me as her benefactor, but in another light, she was mine as well. If she had accepted me as a friend from the beginning, none of this would have happened. Whether we got along or not was Jin Dali's choice. Then, take care. I went upstairs to my room. Jin Dali, standing in the doorway, just stared at me with a puzzled expression. Rumors about me had spread throughout the academy. Of course, some parts were twisted from the actual events. Did you hear? An academy student assisted in subjugating a cult this time. Excuse me. Familiar bob cut. A flower pin on the bangs. May I sit here? With me. I was momentarily surprised and asked back. The attitude of Jin Dali that I knew was so different now that cognitive dissonance almost occurred. I knew from the system that Jin Dali recognized me as a friend. However, the Jin Dali that still remained in my memory disliked me. I smiled faintly and spoke calmly. So, you said you have something to say. It's about what happened last time. I'm really grateful that you helped me with my revenge. I chuckled as Jindali's shoulders trembled in anxiety. Anyway, I've incurred a debt that I can never repay in a lifetime. You can let it go. At my words, Jindali reluctantly shook her head. Normally, people become close quickly after sharing a meal. Then, after a bottle of alcohol, they would become best buddies. What food do you like? What are your hobbies? How did you spend your childhood? Did you go to a private school? Have you always wanted to apply to the academy? This girl, she talked more than I thought. Just by talking, she almost seemed like a reporter. I, sweating profusely, managed to answer. While surviving the hellish 30 Q&A, I wondered, does she do this to Siwoo too? It didn't seem like it. Was she just trying to mess with me? Is he really a first-year student? Yes, he is Lee Shihun, a first-year student at L Academy, the man who played the biggest role in subjugating the 42nd branch. Remarkable. At the presentation shown by Byul, the high-ranking officials of the association nodded. I think what student Lee Shihun needs most now is definitely the best master. Byul sneakily turned her head and looked at a woman. Bikdo, what is it? What do you think about this kid? The woman called Bikdo scratched the back of her white hair and chuckled as she looked at the screen. Not bad. It would be nice if I raised him. There were murmurs here and there. The undefeated warrior. Those who had witnessed her power did not spare their praises. Did you hear? The lessons will be replaced with experiential classes for a week. It's a campaign where external instructors from the Hunter Association or the Foundation become mentors. I had heard about this from Lee Seong. Okay, attention. Standing at the podium, Seong, as always, mixed a few silly jokes to wake the students and then announced some schedules for the experiential classes. I presume you all know best about mentor classes. Though called a class, just consider it a one-week experiential learning. The mentors for each student were announced this morning. She called out the groups one by one. My group was Group H, and the mentor's name would be confirmed in today's class. Sensuyu, Group H. That name popped up. Turning my head to look at her, Sensuyu met my eyes with her unique expressionless face. I made a peace sign with my fingers. Sensuyu blinked her eyes and tilted her head. Soon, she imitated my action and stretched out her hands, making a peace sign. Double peace. Cute. With Sensuyu, who hid an unexpected cuteness, maybe the mentoring classes could be quite enjoyable. I spent my time thinking about this. Soon came the first meeting with the mentor. Many students were having a chat with their mentors. However, there wasn't a trace of a person, let alone a mentor, on the placard marked with Group H. What on earth was happening? Looking around, a half-dumbfounded instructor who had glanced at us said, Group H, yes, you guys, we'll have to take a plane. Excuse me, we had to take a plane to meet a mentor. The plane ticket is sponsored, and it seems to be heading to the Hunter Association. Have a safe trip. The plane departure time is in 3 hours. You're telling us now. We just received the information too. Sorry, 50 minutes were left until the flight. After talking to Sensuyu, I walked around. No matter where I went, the flourishing greens were fascinating, contrasting with my old world. I should catch some sleep on the plane. Hey, do you have a lighter? Then, suddenly, a woman approached us and spoke. Without even looking at her face, I found a lighter from my waist and handed it to her. We made eye contact. The name tag was pinned to her chest. Seeing each other's name tags, our faces stiffened. The woman called Bikdo coughed awkwardly, accepted the lighter, and lit her cigarette. You smoke? I do, but not frequently. Have one. Bikdo offered a cigarette. It had a faint peach scent. I didn't expect to see you here. I was dispatched from the association. They promised the best master. Is it you? I don't take just anyone as my disciple. But you said you'd teach. I can teach, disciple or not. I thought and exhaled smoke. She then spoke. Smokers are not bad people. I'll give you 1 point. 1 point. Earn 10, and I'll take you as a direct disciple. I was thankful for that. We spent some time smoking and gazing into the distance. I have a question. It's crucial. It may decide whether you can be my disciple. Are you ready? This was serious. I needed to take it seriously, too. The wind blew, and I awaited the question. Finally, a word fell from Bikdo's lips. Do you prefer hard peaches or soft peaches? Answer quickly. 1, 2, 3. Soft peaches. Bikdo frowned. Her expression was almost demonic. Wrong. -5 points. Bikdo, clearly agitated, warned me in a low voice. During the flight to Korea, Bikdo and I avoided each other's gazes, just crossing our arms and looking elsewhere. Sensuyu alternately looked at Bikdo and me with a curious expression. Shihyun, what? Did something happen between you and the mentor? Yes, something did happen. Bikdo had lambasted me over absurd peach preferences, and we'd had a harsh exchange of words right there. Turning my head, I asked Sensuyu, Do you prefer hard peaches or soft peaches? Sensuyu tilted her head, seemingly not understanding the question. Bikdo, who was pretending to be asleep with her eyes closed, interjected irritably. Heh, obviously hard peaches. Mentor, please keep your mouth shut. How dare you, to your mentor. You said I'm disqualified as a disciple. -2 points. I still prefer soft peaches. Bikdo scowled. No matter her preference for hard peaches, I loved soft ones, sweet and juicy. This is crossing the line. I still like soft peaches. Insolent brat. Let's assess your skills first. Sensuyu, the first disciple. The first disciple. Yes, the soft peach faction doesn't even deserve the title of second disciple. You, soft peach, are the third disciple. After that day, whenever she got a chance, Bikdo would patronize me, emphasizing the superiority of hard peaches. Soft peaches are more expensive. That's because there's more supply of hard peaches. It's because there's more demand for soft peaches. The great leader from the north prefers soft peaches. You must be a red and a communist. She was really going overboard. Those peaches were hazardous peaches. Anyway, Sensuyu, the first disciple, draw your sword. Let's see your skills. I hope for your kind guidance. Sensuyu, with a rather serious face, drew her sword and took her stance, the one I had always seen her use. Ready. Sensuyu shifted her center slightly forward, indicating the start of her charge. On the other hand, Bikdo stood relaxed, her leg casually raised, and her right hand rested behind her waist. Begin. The ground shook as she moved, sending dirt into the air like rain. Bikdo, who had vanished for a moment, appeared right in front of Sensuyu, who was beginning her charge. Sensuyu swiftly swung her sword, but Bikdo effortlessly dodged it all. Sensuyu's response was savvy. She quickly adapted her aggressive stance, always ready to counterattack. Bikdo, who had been moving swiftly, suddenly flew into the air, landing behind Sensuyu. It felt as if she was creating stepping stones in the air. Sensuyu, caught off guard, quickly turned and directed her sword towards Bikdo. Not bad, first disciple. Bikdo accelerated again. This time, she lunged forward with a punch. With the sound of the air bursting, Sensuyu was sent flying. Bikdo's magic. You do have some sense. C1. She's not ordinary. I know. And it's Shihyun. Shihyun, right? Third disciple, get into position. Ah, yes. I stretched out my feet, lowering my center of gravity, and positioning myself to target either side or the back. Ready. Even before the command to start, Bikdo moved. And she was dead serious. Taken aback, I quickly transitioned to a defensive stance. Darn it, that sneaky mentor. There's no mercy for the third disciple. I was furious and channeled my power throughout my body. Wooden sword technique, third form. Boom. A surge of rough air erupted. My body was pushed back by a simple and brutish punch. A bad sound came from the sword. The sword was badly damaged as I resisted the pushback. I clenched my fists and threw away the sword. Seeing my stance change to one of my original martial arts techniques, surprise flashed across Bikdo's face. An interesting fellow. I accurately read the subtlety of her martial arts and circulated power around my body. This time, the expanded dark power manifested as a fighting spirit, forming black circles around my clenched fists. All physical abilities increased sharply, and the nerves became more sensitive. I read her movements with my enhanced senses. Our fists collided. Dust flew, and the wind burst. I was pushed back in a power struggle, but I could block the subsequent strikes that came like a storm. This is fun. A human who steals techniques. Bikdo, with a nearly mad laugh, targeted my openings whenever they were exposed. I fixed my stance and retreated every time. Is that all? People who like soft things have endlessly soft fists. I was pushed back by her fist and hit a tree. My head hit the tree and my vision blurred. This was bad. Seeing Bikdo's figure flying towards me, I closed my eyes tightly and reached out one hand. Soft. The soft peach-like chest was fully felt in my hand. Bikdo noticed my change and tilted her head, discovering her chest tightly grabbed by my hand. Then, her face turned red. Poof. A puff of smoke, and her hair color changed to orange. A peach, commonly called a yellow peach. I got touched. I hate Bikdo. Boo-hoo. Peaches should be soft, don't you think? Soft so that even children and elderly can eat, and also very sweet. That's right, canned peaches are all sweet. You only speak the truth. We have something in common. Talking about peaches for a while, I felt Hwangdo, and I had quite matching personalities. Should we make a peach oath? Don't you know? Strengthening our beliefs under a peach tree. From today, we are peach friends. What a cool name. Hwangdo placed her hand on her chest and smiled brightly. She looked pure and cute. It was questionable why Bikdo behaved the way she did when she had such a cute face. I look forward to working with you, sister. I understand, younger brother. Since it's late today, shall we sleep? You brat. The extremely angry voice of Bikdo echoed loudly in the cabin. I sprung up from my spot as if struck by thunder, my heart racing in surprise. Isn't it the most basic courtesy not to disturb someone when they're sleeping? How dare you speak such words after touching the chest of a pristine maiden? Are you blaming me for the mishap? Be quiet. And using the term peach oath, how dare you use such a sacred word? I yawned as my sleep completely abandoned me. I read on the internet that 60% of the people in the world prefer soft peaches. Stop the nonsense, you kami. It hadn't even been a day, and I already missed Hwangdo. I grumbled as I tidied up my sleeping space, and Sensuyu also got up and headed straight to the training ground. Today, we will start with some simple endurance training. It's a very simple task. She unfolded a massive map she got from somewhere. We will only be running. Of course not. I will be hindering you in the process. Of course, I have also set traps. Bikdo glanced to one side. Growl, a bear of unseen size, drooling, was approaching us. Wrap this scarf. It attracts the bear's attention. Bikdo handed 3 scarves to me and 1 to Sensuyu. Is this a joke? Why do I get 3? Because you are the 3rd disciple. This is absurd. I wrapped the scarf and moved quickly. This endurance training was a clear race against time. If I started too fast, there was a risk of being caught by the bear later. It might not be a problem for Sensuyu, the mana tank, but it was a serious issue for me. Sensuyu, which way will you go? Left? Then I will go right. My running speed was gradually increasing. The problem was the strength of the scarf was beyond imagination. More bears started to emerge from different places. There's more than one. Foolish 3rd disciple. Unknown projectiles were flying around everywhere. All were spectacles seen only in comics. They were appearing right before my eyes, blocking my way. Frowning, I assessed my remaining mana. Damn. I ran down the never-ending slope. The downhill run at full speed was faster than I thought. Then, I tripped over a tree root and flew for a few seconds. I rolled down the slope awkwardly. Leaves stuck between my clothes, and bruises formed on my arms and legs. After rolling for a while, I stopped against a large tree. Will you repent now, 3rd-rate disciple? Your talent is usable. If you sincerely follow me, I'll accept you as a direct disciple. A hard peach, a soft peach. Honestly, I didn't care. A peach was just a peach. What significance did it have? It just needed to be tasty. Say it. Soft peaches are tasteless. Despite her appearance, seeing the teasing Bikdo, I wanted to hit her in the face with my elbow. It's the same feeling when my cousin broke my 1.9 million won laptop. Honestly, I didn't care. It was just my stubbornness that wouldn't leave me alone. I took a deep breath and shouted with all my might. Shut up. I understand. If that is the will of a 3rd-rate disciple. A massive wave of mana filled the mountains. I couldn't avoid this. Looking at the white orbs rushing towards me, I closed my eyes. The noise stopped. But why was nothing happening? I lifted my trembling eyelids. The mana orbs that were about to engulf me were nowhere to be seen. The woman who was standing in the air slowly descended and walked towards me. She walked towards me with proud and graceful steps, her arms crossed arrogantly. Her steps were different from Hwangdo's gentle ones, and different from Bikdo's arrogant strides. The impassive expression on her face seemed to be thoroughly controlling her emotions. Chindo, you know my name. Then this will be quick. Chindo cleared her throat once. And, I apologize for Bikdo's actions. It must have been dangerous. Do you prefer hard peaches, Chindo, or soft peaches? Why should I care about such things? Chindo mumbled to herself with crossed arms. It doesn't matter if it's thick or thin. It's good if it's fresh. Do you dislike Bikdo that much? It's hard to explain. It seems like there are just some incompatible things between people. I understand. You fought over such a trivial subject. I didn't bother to correct that it wasn't a trivial subject. I'll go then. Finish your training or not, it's up to you. Where are you going? Since I've tormented you one-sidedly, I should give similar trials to the other side for fair training. I see. Chindo walked away, sword in hand. I looked seriously at her latex-covered hips. Can I ask one thing? Speak. Who owns the body? Never bothered about such things. She took a step forward. Peach tree, it's not such an honorable family. The sins of the past definitely extend to the future. If you call it a curse, then it certainly is a curse. So maybe we didn't need to be born in the same body at the same time. We wouldn't have to split our scarce time to see the outside world. If we weren't in the same body, well, would we have been triplets? Maybe sisters born in consecutive years. But fantasies end as fantasies. If you ask who is the owner of this body, who can answer since we never experienced it? What kind of karma is that? You talk too much. You are impolite. Chindo gave me a faint smile. This was the first smile I saw that was very beautiful. I can't tell you that, but I can give you one piece of advice. Chindo looked at me and moved her arm once. The sword at my waist was neatly cut in half and fell down. Shihyun, yes, you are more suited for martial arts than the sword. The leaves moved. With a gust of wind, various grasses covered Chindo's body, and soon she disappeared. You are more suited for martial arts than the sword. Martial arts. Put down the sword and use your fists. The fist was weaker than the sword. The spear was stronger than the sword. In combat against people, reach always mattered. Why would I use fists when there were perfectly good weapons? To be blunt, if a fist could defeat a sword, it would shake the proposition of the word weapon itself. Nevertheless, Chindo said to walk the path of martial arts. But who will teach me martial arts? Bikdo. I hated that woman. Aside from her body and face, there was nothing about her I liked. I got up and went outside. I was startled and moved my feet to that place. Wait. Stop. When I turned my head, there was Chindo, naked, squatting. Was it that urgent? Were there no options for restrooms here? That wasn't important at the moment. I couldn't avert my eyes. It was a sight impossible to look away from. A lewd devil would die without regret after seeing this. Yes, I was that lewd devil. Chindo tried to blabber something, then blushed with an angry face and lowered her head. Then, without saying anything, bang, her hair turned orange. The mountains echoed with her scream. Turn your head. Don't look. Wangdo was frantically trying to put on latex clothes. Why doesn't this cloth fit? Trying to wear latex clothes that stuck to the body in the dark was not easy. Have you finished wearing your clothes? Wangdo was tangled in the tight latex clothes, looking comical. Little bro. Yes, I can't move my body. Wangdo mumbled with teary eyes. How did the clothes get like this? How did you wear it so that it ended up tied this tightly? I don't know. It's weird. Only when I wear these clothes. Don't touch the weird parts. You wore this wrong, sister. I think you need to wear it again from the start. Trust your peach friend. Peach friend. Alright. Wangdo shut her eyes tight with a resolved face. Feeling the touch of my hands, she blushed. Little bro, when will this end? It's too embarrassing. Be patient. I tried my best not to pay attention, but blood eventually flowed to my lower body. I wouldn't say it out loud, but Wangdo's gaze was fixed there. Reacting to her gaze, it twitched, and following that, Wangdo's breathing grew heavier. Sister. Yeah, little bro. Can you remove your hands from your face? Wangdo finally removed her hands from her flushed face when I hinted and began to fan herself repeatedly. Well, I'll close my eyes then. Shortly after, Wangdo closed her eyes tightly, but her eyelids quivered, and her eyes partially opened. Women were sensitive to gazes towards their chests, and men were the same. Changing the clothes didn't take too long. Dressing in latex gear was hard for the first time, but it looked quite cool once done. Thank goodness. After checking herself, Wangdo finally brightened her face and hugged me before soon realizing what she had done and blushed. Little bro, what happened today? Please keep it a secret from Bikdo. Even if I keep it a secret, she knows, right? Bikdo is sleeping now. And Chindo, I really won't let Chindo off doing this to me. I nodded, understanding Wangdo, who was burning with resolve. Bikdo looked at us, and she looked more tired than usual, maybe because of what happened with Chindo yesterday. I will explain today's training. Bikdo clenched her fists. First disciple, what do you fight for? To prove the honor of the family. It was a disheartening reason. To begin with, expecting an original answer from Sensuyu was a mistake. I sneakily glanced at Bikdo. Think more about yourself. Why do you fight? To prove the honor of the family. Think well, first disciple. I don't know anything other than that. Sensuyu's answer seemed decisive. Bikdo looked at her expressionlessly, her eyes pleading for help. What was she trying to teach the mechanical Sensuyu? So, third disciple, what about you? Bikdo stutteringly asked me. She was expecting a proper answer. I smiled at her. The reason I fought. It could be to make a fortune overnight or to look a bit better, but the primal reason was only one. To beat up all the annoying guys. Of course, among the annoying ones was the world tree as well. A faint smile formed on Bikdo's face after hearing my answer. You indeed have the same temperament as us. I slightly frowned. I could tolerate anything but being compared to Bikdo. Me, having the same temperament. The only temperament I have is anger management issues and being lascivious. What kind of temperament is that? Bikdo, surprised, quickly added an explanation to her statement. Third disciple. What I wanted to say is you are a born fighter. You are aggressive and have an innate sense. I don't like it, but you definitely have talent. Why was she praising me all of a sudden? Looking at Bikdo, who was smirking confidently, I realized she was offering me something. How about it? Tempting, isn't it? Bikdo smirked triumphantly. So that's why she praised me. just flattering to raise her own value. I looked at Bikdo with a wry smile. Even without laughter, I could hear her giggling. I took a breath and answered coldly, I don't want to. Bikdo's face stiffened in an instant. Hold on, it's my offer. Are you really refusing? Times have changed. There are many people who can teach besides you, Bikdo. You need to respect your disciples. What is there to learn under a master who does not respect her disciples? Honestly, it was a tempting offer, but my pride wouldn't allow it. Bikdo read the letter left by Chindo multiple times. Veins were visible between her frowning brows. Her white hair was disheveled, and a decadent aura surfaced on her face. Chindo, that evil woman. She disliked Chindo. How dare she suggest accepting a man who was already infuriating at first sight as a disciple. She thought a proper master-disciple relationship would never form between them. Li Shihan. She murmured the name with a cold voice. She thought that his talent was clear. Someone who could replicate anything at first glance. A real deal. How should I do this? The third disciple, that evil guy. She knew they were not a match from the first day they met. They would never understand each other in this lifetime. Like parallel lines never meeting, she was sure her relationship with Shihan would never intersect. He doesn't even know my feelings. Bikdo puffed her cheeks, sulking internally. Bikdo found Li Shihan repulsive, but she had no choice but to follow Chindo. Bikdo admired Chindo, who was born with the demeanor of a great leader and wanted to be like her. What can I do? Bikdo murmured. An acute voice could be heard from inside. Bikdo, don't hate our little brother too much. Hwangdo, you don't know anything. He's a good kid. He touched my chest and got excited. Are you really going to keep doing this to me? So, you weren't excited. What's the commotion now? It was Chindo. Chindo, does it have to be that guy? Li Shihan has 10 times more talent than your current disciple. No, I really think I won't get along with him. What are you talking about? Personality-wise, you two would get along the best. What nonsense. Beep beep. The alarm rang, and Bikdo checked the caller ID on her phone. She sighed heavily and answered the phone. What do you mean? Wooden rampage incident. So, an ent. A term referring to corrupted tree people. If liberation or woodification was a unique ability of the tree people who fully drew out the power of the world tree, ent referred to those who couldn't bear woodification, lost their sanity, and became monsters. 5 cases. An average of 10 cases occurred per year, but 5 in one day. This works out well. What? Sensuyu and Li Shihan lack practical experience. This will be a great opportunity for growth. Listen, 2 more are joining us. Around 1 in the afternoon, Bikdo, who had returned, looked somewhat sorrowful. Her appearance was somewhat pitiable for some reason. Third disciple. First disciple. To be honest, I highly value both of your talents. So, I am thinking of sending you into actual combat. Especially you, the third disciple, you shine in actual combat. Am I wrong? If you finish this task well, I will take you as my direct disciple. I understand. You will probably have to spend more than 3 days in Seoul, so pack all your belongings. Can't I become a direct disciple? Bikdo made an awkward face at those regretful words. It was natural. Having 2 disciples and only one become a direct disciple would be problematic. Bikdo, resting her hand on her chin in thought, soon reached a conclusion. I am a martial artist, so I don't know how to use a sword. I can't teach swordsmanship. Li Shihan has the qualities of a martial artist. So, what do we do in actual combat? Subjugating ents. Ents. Sensuyu and I tilted our heads. We already knew about ents through our classes. It was said that tree people who couldn't withstand the power of the world tree turned into wooden monsters filled with evil. They were substantial beings, to the point that there were theories that monsters like goblins appearing in dungeons originated from ents. You will probably have to participate in the investigation. Not in combat, but if we start with the investigation, won't it take too long? Our training period is short. I've contacted the academy. That was good. It was a legal excuse to skip the academy. Yes, let's just do it. I'll do it too. Hearing mine and Sensuyu's responses, Bikdo faintly smiled. And there's someone I want to introduce to you. Who is it? They are your colleagues who you'll be with once you graduate from the academy. From the moment you became my disciple, it's as if you were recruited. Colleagues? Why was she trying to involve me there? You'll receive a monthly 10 million won, guaranteed 2 days off a week, and regular bonuses. 10 million a month, 2 days off a week, and bonuses. Ho ho ho, you should have said that first. Why do I have to take such a guy as my disciple? You chose me as your disciple. Please accept it willingly. I sincerely feel like shit. Seeing her genuine dislike, it seems it was not Bikdo's will. Maybe Chindo or Hwangdo influenced her. Exchanging profanities, we headed towards Seoul. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.